Welcome back, everyone. I'm Jason.
And I'm Devon.
This show is a nonlinear and unfiltered exploration of people and their thoughts.
Welcome to the Thought Safari. On last week's episode, I was interviewed by my co-host Jason, and y'all got to know a little bit more about myself. And as a little teaser from last week, we said this week we would be interviewing none other than Mr. Jason Jurgel himself, formerly known as Jay Raven. So, to kick things off with this interview series, we're going to ask just a few questions like we ask anyone that's on the pod. So, Jason, welcome to the Thought Safari. We're happy to have you.
Oh, it's great to be here. I'm so proud that we invited me.
We did invite you, and you so graciously accepted that invitation.
Yeah.
So thank you for that.
I mean, my Tuesdays are pretty open because of the show, so I figured, why not join it?
We're happy to have you. So you kind of know we're this one goes. It's a question we've asked thousands of guests prior to you.
Oh, for sure, yeah. We're prolific.
So there is, in fact, a worldwide competition.
The whole world, huh?
Worldwide.
Okay.
What's there, 8+ billion people on the planet Earth?
Yeah, 8.5 or 6 billion.
Worldwide competition. Every human being on the planet is participating in this competition. And you have to finish in the top 10,000. Everyone on the planet's eligible. What would you want this competition to be? And just remember, while you think about it, you can't limit this by age, race, gender, name, dexterity, anything along those lines, okay? Every single human being on the planet is eligible. 8+ billion of them. You got to finish in the top 10,000. What kind of dance are we dancing?
Yeah, I mean, dude, there are so many dances, right? Because part of me wants to go professionally, what do I know? Part of me wants to go what do I personally know? But I think it's one of two things. And I think the one that I'm more confident that I'd finish in the top 10,000, because I just don't know anyone like me in this regard. I'm sure there are at least 9,000 of them, but still top 10,000. So, well, it would basically be some competition around booking last minute travel and still making it to my destination on time while maintaining a low heart rate throughout the process. So something like, everyone has to wear a heart rate monitor. There's a trip that you have to take on Wednesday, say. You're not allowed to book it until Tuesday night, sometime after 8 p.m. your time. And you're not allowed to show up to the airport more than an hour before your flight takes off. And you're not allowed to enter the airport sooner than 45 minutes before your flight takes off. And if your heart rate gets 10% over baseline, you're out of the competition. Because I always book last minute travel. And there was this I used to do it, and it's kind of it's a really tricky game to play because oftentimes you're taking flights with terrible legs. You have layovers for days. There used to be this thing on Priceline that they had these super last minute deals. And this is how insane I am with travel. So I'd be flying to Alaska, and I'd be flying the next day. And if you booked the day before, they would say, hey, we're not even going to tell you the airlines. We're not going to tell you what time you take off or what time you get there, but they just tell you what the dollar amount is. But it's you're guaranteed to take off on the day you're supposed to, and you're guaranteed to arrive there the day you're supposed to. And obviously, if it's you're flying to China, it might be you fly today, get there tomorrow, however it works. But they wouldn't tell you airlines, and they wouldn't tell you when you flew. They wouldn't tell you number of layovers. They would just give you the price. And I did that 4 or 5 times in a row.
That is exceptional.
And I remember, dude, it was so great. And I remember the one time I did it, me and one other, I was actually dating someone at the time, and we were meeting in some city. I forget where. It might have been, it actually might have been the trip to Austin, Texas. And the person had booked their flights like, like a normal person. Because we didn't make the plans way out in advance. I mean, we made the plans like 2 months prior to the trip. And she had booked it probably 2 months minus 1 day prior to the trip. Like literally booked it next day, and I booked it like day before. And my flights were actually cheaper than hers because I did my secret squirrel. I'm an idiot, and I book last minute, and I'm cool with any number of legs of flights. So yeah, that would be the competition. Like heart rate can't get too much of a baseline, and you got to book super last minute travel and get there on time.
So many. Clearly, you're the planner.
Yes. Yes. I've been known to plan things. So
many questions there. Okay. As it pertains to the competition and as it pertains to you, the individual. So I think the competition personally is just a phenomenal one. And I would love to compete in said competition because that is literally, for anyone that knows me, how I operate on a daily basis. Like, Emily still tries to figure out how I am late for leaving in the morning every morning when I've had hours in advance to prepare for my departure from the house 15 minutes down the road, right?
It's so great.
For sure how I travel as well. I haven't done the Priceline hack, which I think is phenomenal. So, question on the heart rate thing. Is this something that you have, have you ever worn a wearable device that like tracks that, and have you monitored your heart rate, or are you just assuming you would be able to keep it down?
Oh, okay. So 2 separate questions. I have worn a heart rate monitor in the past. So I actually had to wear one because I thought I might have had sleep apnea.
Okay.
So basically I found out about it it was actually a company I was working with developed this wearable. So you put it on I think it was it was either your pointer or your ring finger, and you sleep with it. And then basically this thing, it was like the Somnos ring or Somno ring or something. I could find the name of it, but basically you would wear it, you would send it in, and then they would tell you without the full breathing apparatus on, or like without like a physical monitor on you, they could tell you like when your blood oxygen levels are dropping, like if you're moving around a lot. So I did that. I got loosely diagnosed, but basically this thing is still in testing, or was at the time. So then I had to wear, like, they sent me one in the mail, and I had to hook it up to like my nipples or whatever I had to do.
Like,
but it's like, you hook up
patches kind of thing.
Yeah. You had to like peel them, stick them to your yeah, I had to. Like, there was this huge like machine thing. Like, it was basically like the size of like a small Bible pretty much. And like that had like wires coming off it in every which direction, because there were electrodes. Like I had to put, I forget how many there were, but there were like 4 or 5 of these things that I had to wear. Like, and then there was I think there was like a finger clip thing.
For like every night you slept like that for a while?
I had to do it. I think it was just overnight. I think
when you
it's
say
just
you
like
had
a one
to,
night
was
sample.
that like,
it might be
was
like
that like you agreed in wearing the ring that if your tests came back as X, you had to plug into the machine?
No. It was literally on my path to diagnosis for sleep apnea, which I do have. and I have a CPAP machine.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. So is that something you wear while you're sleeping?
Yeah, dude, I have like a full-on mask. Like really? It literally like wraps around my head and like over my nose and mouth. They have ones that are just in your nostrils. They have like implants you can get. They have things that like move your jaw around.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, like, so basically, so what ended up happening was like I wore the original ring for 3 or 4 nights.
Okay.
And what was like scary / shocking was I wore it, over the course of like 4 days. It bled into the weekend, and one of the weekend nights I was drinking, and I mean, honestly, probably was drinking heavily at the time.
Sure.
So, I mean, heavily for most people, but
having
like if you're a dude, yeah, I just had a good night out. So my sleep numbers that night, like they were like reviewing the results with me, And they were like, "Did you do anything weird on Saturday?" And I was like, "I might have did something weird on Saturday. Like, why are you asking me if I was weird on Saturday? Like, what are you, the government?" Like,
Yeah.
but no, they were like, "No, your sleep numbers were like horrendous on Saturday." Like, and basically, so what was happening to me was like I was waking up in the morning like panting because like I would almost stop breathing, and like I wasn't getting enough oxygen. So I was never getting enough sleep. So I was like, oh, okay, I'll try the ring, whatever. And then since I've gotten the machine, dude, like my life is materially better. Like I
Really?
sleep through the night now, and before I wouldn't. Yeah.
Do you move around a lot when you sleep?
I used to. I mean, I'm sure I still flip flop a little bit, but I don't know.
And like, so does
I mean, I
this
haven't,
contraption, like, do you find yourself sometimes waking up and you're like tangled, or is it pretty easy to maneuver around with?
Well, so you can get tangled in it because there's a hose that goes off, your mask into the machine.
Sure.
If this is the machine, so hose to the machine. But basically what I do is I take the hose from the machine and I wrap it like around back behind my pillow.
Mm-hmm.
And then it comes up over the pillow and I pull it out enough that I have enough room to like move my head either way,
Sure.
but it kind of stays off of me.
Mm-hmm.
Because you could also be like laying flat on your back, hose directly on you, and then it's just like hose everywhere.
Wow.
There are hose in this house.
I didn't know this. Yeah. So fascinating because you and I have talked a little bit about snoring before, right?
Yeah.
And you explained to me high level that's like a part of that whole situation.
Yeah, because basically what happens is like, I'm certainly not a doctor, but there's this sort of like flappy john in your throat or somewhere in your respiratory system. And for whatever reason, like that muscle or whatever that thing is becomes weaker. And when I was and so it causes snoring because what happens is when you snore, that thing's going brrrr. It's like when you do with your tongue. If you're like, arrrr,
oh, buddy, trust me,
that's what it's like.
I know all about that little flapjack in the back of your throat. I live that life.
But it's not the little punchy bag guy.
No,
it's
I
not
know.
that thing. There's
it's
like
the thing that makes
bigger,
noises like you're snoring
so,
when you're Devon when you're sleeping. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, and it's enough to like, so what was happening was they were actually like everyone at work is like, "Oh my God, was there an earthquake last night?" So I was actually setting off like Richter scale measurements around the area. I was snoring so bad.
Wait, I was actually
That didn't actually happen. That was a joke.
That was pretty good.
No, I did.
I mean, you never know.
Like,
living in California, you're like Richter scale, earthquake, me, office, people. I take it all seriously.
But the interesting thing about sleep apnea is it absolutely crushes your life expectancy. So like if you know you're about to be diagnosed with sleep apnea, you should go get life insurance because it's a question when you go to sign up for it. And if you have it and you have a diagnosis for it, your rates are different than if you don't have it because you're expected to die sooner because ultimately your brain and your body are not getting enough oxygen when you sleep. And apparently it's something that I forget what the statistic is, but it's something along the lines of like 8 out of 10 men our age have it.
Oh, yeah, I believe it.
And like almost every man will develop it.
So do you know, this is the point. Folks, welcome to the Thought Safari. We're talking about a competition, and now we're talking about snoring. Two mid-30-year-old males. Handsome, healthy, fit males, might I add. So
devilishly handsome.
Don't for one second think that we're too morbidly obese. No offense to morbidly obese folks, but like we are very fit, respectable individuals, and I'm 34. Jay, you're 37?
38.
38. I am, you old boy.
If I'm a fresh 38 though, like I just turned.
That's true.
Get off me.
Yeah.
But yeah, 38 and dude, I've had sleep problems all my 30s, so I probably developed it earlier than I was diagnosed, obviously.
In going down this journey of I'm sure better understanding sleep apnea and like finding what ultimately seems to be a solution for you, like did you ever go down is there any holistic, obviously I'm sure there's behavioral stuff, right? Like if I go drink a bunch, I'm going to not sleep as well. Is there any sort of like preventative thing other than that you can do? You mentioned like this little flapjack having a weaker muscle. Like can you strengthen it by doing exercises or anything along those lines that you know of?
Not that I know of, and that's not to say that they don't exist. I mean, I know that there are, there are fully intrusive measures that you can take. So, like, you can basically have an implant. One of my buddies that I actually went to Bandon with, so he and I talked a lot about this because I was diagnosed with it, and he's building. So he's oh my God, what is that type of dentist called? He's an orthodontist. So my buddy's an orthodontist. Yeah, so guy from Bandon, orthodontist, and he's developing something where you don't have to wear the sleep mask, where it basically just realigns your jaw a little bit, because basically if your jaw moves, I'm just going to pretend that it's forward. I don't know if that's the case. It's probably forward because they're not pushing it back. But if you like move your jaw forward, you open the airway, whatever it is.
Yes, if you move it forward, you open
the airway a little more. Yeah, so I think it probably like moves your jaw forward a little bit, so you could sleep with that. I'm not sure of any preventive things because it's, as far as I know, like there are things that exacerbate the problem, and like, sleeping on your side versus sleeping on your back. Like I think back sleeping is worse for it, and certainly drinking alcohol, because when I drank alcohol, and I could go back and try and find the results, but dude, it was something like I generally stop breathing. And now my device tells me like when this happens, like when I think they're called like low oxygen events or something.
Sure.
But basically I currently have 7 to 10 of them a night. And when I was drinking during that study, it jumped up to like 25.
Really?
It was some crazy number. And yeah, like, cause for a while, I just wasn't refreshed when I woke up. I would wake up a lot in the middle of the night. I would toss and turn a lot. And then in some of the mornings, like sometimes when I would wake up, I'd be short of breath. And it's because my body is just not getting enough oxygen. So it's like, dude, we got to wake this fucking guy up because like we're dying.
Yeah.
Like you're like actually kind of dying.
That's a crazy way to say that. Your body's like, wake up because you can't breathe.
You could, because you can't breathe.
And
like,
then you wake up and
breathing
go
properly.
And then.
Yeah, I would like, there were times I would wake up and dude, I mean, I'm 38 now. This was like early to mid 30s. Like I'd wake up and I'd be like,
almost like you've had a bad dream
one or
or
two
something.
Breaths.
Like where you're like startled kind of. Wow.
Dude, and it is, I mean, and thoughts of our, we're usually happy people, but like it's a very serious thing. Like if you're snoring, like 100% should get it checked out.
You know what I think is interesting about that? From call us younger males, right? Like not quite middle-aged yet. Like this is not something that I think is openly discussed, and it's certainly not something that people take seriously enough, right? So like, again, not to be morbid about it, but like a typical snoring thing is just like, oh, it's whether you're sleeping with a partner or whatever. It's like, oh, like snores, it's annoying. She wakes me up in the night, or I don't sleep as well, or passed out at a friend's house and they told me I was snoring, or your old like typical grandpa who takes a nap on the couch and he's snoring, like. But to know that there's like a legitimate health concern, right, to that is pretty eye-opening.
Yeah, because it's interesting, and so the way that I originally found out that something was going on was like when I was a kid, never snored. And then as I was getting older, as I was sleeping with people, not, I mean, obviously I had sex with people, but like even not saying it in a sexual way, but like.
Holy cow, dude. That took a turn.
No, but I mean, like not even sleeping with, romantically involved with somebody, but even if, my girlfriend who lived with me for a little while was literally like, dude, sleeping. Every time you drink, you snore. So then people noticed it when I was drinking, I would snore. And then it started turning into now I just start snoring a little bit more as life goes on. And yeah, dude, to your point, like it was something that only like unfit fat dads used to do.
Sure.
My grandmother used to snore as well, but it was something that it was just like, when guys got to a certain age and they had the beer gut, like they would snore, and that was just how life went. And my dad was diagnosed with it. I don't know if my brother has it, but I do.
Kind of assumed like when you get old, you just snore. And I think that's kind of where the conversation ends. At least historically, right? Like, yeah, parents got old, they started snoring. Cool, that's what happens when you get old. Move on. What else you got? But
Well, dude,
that's crazy.
yeah. Well, so so like the alarms went off a little bit as I did preliminary research on it. Long story short, I was listening to this audiobook, Why We Sleep by Dr. Matthew Walker. I think he teaches actually out here in Berkeley, but basically it was all about why humans sleep, what goes on when we sleep. And what was interesting about the book is that to this date, or I mean, maybe the math has changed or the science has changed since since he wrote the book.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, we know the benefits of sleeping, but we don't exactly know why we sleep. Like, we don't know when that happened or why that happened. But basically, when you sleep, I mean, a lot of things happen, right? Your body is rebuilding itself because, like, bodybuilders will always tell you one of the most important things to building a huge physique, eating properly, working out properly, but sleep and eating are usually like 1, 2.
Mm-hmm.
And workout is third to that, which most people just think like I go and I throw weights around and I rah.
Sure.
But no, like because your body's rebuilding when you sleep. Not only that, but mentally, that is when you are consolidating your memories. So if you never slept, you wouldn't remember anything.
Yeah, I
because
mean,
when you sleep is when your brain files things away.
Kind of makes sense because, like, if you're sleep deprived in any capacity, even after a night or two, right? Like, which the irony of like pulling an all nighter for a test in college is just, in hindsight, so stupid because like
it's just asinine.
Your brain is literally not remembering anything you're doing the entire. You'd be better off not studying and just going to bed. If you've paid halfway attention throughout the semester of class. So for those college kids, pay attention, right?
Yeah. Well, and also, I mean, when you think about, and there are multiple reasons that this happens, but after a night of drinking, it's harder to remember what you did the night before. Part of that is because alcohol inhibits memory in some way, but another part of it is you're not sleeping properly, so that little gremlin that's filing things away and making you remember shit.
You're making him drunk.
Well, he's drunk too. So it's just like, he's like, well, fuck, man. Like, what do you want me to do? Like,
he just takes the
you
papers
throw a bunch
and goes,
of booze
fuck
in
it.
you.
He throws them in the air and he's like, I'm going to bed too.
And he's done. And then he's playing Call of Duty. And like, next thing you know, like, I don't remember Sophie's name. And then I'm the asshole. Like, next time I meet her, I got to be like, hey, pretty sure we met. I hope you don't remember my name. She's like, you're Jason. I'm like, fuck, there's no way around this. I don't remember your name. Like, can you please tell me your name? And then I proceed to forget it again, which is a whole other thing. But
that sounds like a really interesting book.
Man,
I need to give that a whirl.
Dude, it is unbelievably fascinating. One other thing I will tell you from the book, and then we can move on.
Yeah.
So he was also talking about the fact that some people, like circadian rhythms, he talks about those.
Mm-hmm.
So there are these plants that there was a study a while ago, and people thought that the plants were actually responding to the sun. And they were like, okay, so, sun comes up, plant opens up, taking in all the light, photosynthesis. Aren't I a beautiful little plant? Sun goes down, plant closes down, goes to sleep. I don't know if they sleep, but whatever plants do when they in the morning. So basically, these two scientists, or whatever the hell they were, took these plants deep into a cave where there was no sunlight and just fucking hung out with them. And next thing you know, the plants, when the sun would have been up, stays open, and then when the sun would have went down,
in the middle of a cave,
closed. In the middle of a cave. And so then they were determining then, like, holy shit, like these things have circadian rhythms too. So then ultimately, fast forwarding a little bit, later in the book, I think it's later in the book, but he talks about the fact that there are some people that are super productive in the morning, some people that are super productive at night. We don't know why that is, but people have different circadian rhythms. And so you can, according to what I remember anyway, and I could be wrong, but there's not too much you can do to alter your circadian rhythm. Like you can over time change it, but it's not just like, I get 3 good nights of sleep and now all of a sudden I'm a morning warrior. There are some people that suck in the morning and some people that are great in the morning. And he said one of the popular theories about it was that when we were living in like tribes, we were clans, there had to be a night's watch. So if you're a night owl, generally speaking,
Sure.
you probably came from the line of the Night's Watch.
Even like throughout
is one of the theories.
Really? So so that suggests that circadian rhythms, night watch stems generations, perhaps.
Yeah, is one of the theories as to why it happens.
I mean, look, I think everyone, regardless of our in-depth knowledge, can agree that there is something difficult to explain about the beauty of sleep.
For sure.
Beauty doesn't do it justice, but like, if you're really tired, there is nothing, not a drug, anything on the planet that can satisfy and give you what you need other than sleep. Period. End of story. Death, perhaps. But that's a morbid second choice to sleep.
No, it really is. Yeah.
Wow.
No, it's true, man. And the thing too is you can kind of catch up on sleep, but it's not as like, I slept 4 hours, now I'm gonna sleep 12. I slept on average 8 hours. Like, it doesn't work that way.
Yep.
But yeah, but this guy, dude, he's a funny guy, but he's talking about like the class he teaches, and he's like, I honestly don't even get that upset if people sleep in my class because I think sleep is so fabulous. And I'm like, dude, you're the fucking man.
What a man.
Like, what a good dude.
God, it's crazy because I think like I'm guilty of this as much as the next person, maybe more, but like sometimes you just feel like you got so much stuff you got to do. You're trying to accomplish so much. You're like, or in my case, sometimes when I have a really long day and then I get done with everything that I have to do when I'm at home, like I need a second to just like decompress and feel like I unwind before I go to bed, which might shorten the sleep I get that night because I inevitably have to wake up at the same time the next morning. But if you actually stop and think practically about it, it's like, shut up. Like, sleep is the best version of unwinding. So just like go to bed for longer and you'll feel better.
Dude, sleep is, and it's funny, I was talking to my brother about this and he's like, man, like, I just love sleeping. And when he first said that to me, I'm like, it kind of sounds like I joked with him, but it's like, I mean, it's kind of a joke, but not really. But it's like, dude, like, that's kind of like, are you depressed? Like, what the fuck? And then I thought about it because like I said that as just like a reflex joke and maybe a terrible joke, but it was a joke I made, whatever, get over yourselves. But basically after that, I sat there and thought about it and I'm like, dude, I actually really love sleep too. Like, I'm the guy that if we go on a guy's trip, right? So, and you might actually dislike this for one very specific reason because it's golf related. But my buddies used to like we would go to Arizona every year. Mm-hmm. And my buddies, even in my early 30s, this was still like how I operated. So the first couple trips, whatever, we'd stay out till whenever, we would golf as early as they wanted to. Everything was cool. After that, like I imposed a rule on these trips for myself. They could go do whatever they want. I don't give a shit. But I am not golfing if I'm on vacation at any tee time that starts before 10 o'clock, if we're within half an hour of the course. And if it's like an hour, then I push it back to like 11 or something. But it's like, I'm not going to go out and party with you guys, get absolutely no sleep, and then just be wrecked all weekend, go get dehydrated. Cause like that shit fucking sucks, man. So like, I have like very rigid sleep rules. And my buddies all hate it. Cause they're like, dude, like we're still out and that means you're going to have to sleep till like 10 o'clock. I'm like, yeah, I can't wait.
Oh, okay.
Like,
would your tea time rule change?
Trip.
Would your tea time rule changed if it was like let's say you go to Abandon where it's not quite a party scene, but it's like you might have a couple beers at the pub after and then like go back to the cabin and pretty much like go to bed.
Yeah, for sure. Like if it's destination golf like that, like, and because like that's like people book these tee times out well in advance. And then if I don't get enough sleep, it's on me.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's not quite a party scene, but if it's like a Scottsdale trip, that's different. I get it.
Yeah, I did accidentally get blacked out at Bandon, but I did play at like 7:30 the next morning, and I showed up like shot out of a fucking cannon, my man. Like I put my caddy Benjo, like I put a huge thing of Gatorade. Like I walked over to him when I saw him. He looked at me. I looked at him. I went over and gave him a hug. I asked him to turn around. I pulled out his pocket and I put a huge thing of Gatorade in it. And everyone was just like, what is happening? And like, we just were like, dude, you literally would think that we were on tour for 30 years together.
Yeah.
Like Benjo, man, that guy, like he got me. It was
nothing
great,
better
dude.
than a good caddy. Shout out to all my fellow loopers out there.
Dude, so when we were in Bandon, so we did like I mean, it wasn't really like a Ryder Cup style thing, but like two people would play two other people. You'd get a point if you win, you don't if you don't. And then you'd rotate through different people. I was the only person that had the same caddy for every round.
Really?
Like he specifically was like, I want Jason. I don't care who he's playing with. I want Jason. Like,
that's pretty epic.
It was sick. I mean, we both did. Like I wanted him too, but it was just like, dude, we're never not partnering together. And he was like, yeah. And so, yeah, we were the only two people that he was on my bag the whole time.
There's something so awesome about a golfer-caddy relationship, but, you know, I don't want to be long-winded in that regard.
Dude, really quickly, and the last thing about that is, like, I think the other reason he liked me was, like, if he told me a club to hit, like, we talked about it for the first, like, probably 4 or 5 holes because he didn't know my distances and stuff.
Sure.
But he would watch me hit shots and he's like, you know, so he would try and feel me out. But, like, I would look at something and he would be like, okay, you know, we got this, that, the other. And, like, before he came back to me, he would calculate all these things in his head and he'd be like, how are you feeling right now? Like, he's like, I think you're hitting the ball really well. So, like, I think you're hitting it your number. So I'm going to hand you a 7-iron. And I'm like, bet. Like, I didn't even know how far I was from the hole.
Yeah.
After the first 4 holes, I never knew my distance because it didn't matter. Really? He just gave me a club and I hit it. Yeah, dude, I never knew. I didn't ask because I didn't care. Like, because I'm very like, dude, you know this, you know me, let's fucking go.
Yeah. And that, like, sick. For someone like you, that makes it so much more enjoyable because you're just like, this is why I'm paying a caddy, right? Like, so let's do this, and I'm going to trust you. And, like, if you misclub me a couple times, then, like, you're probably not going to be here tomorrow.
Yeah, but even if something went squirrely, like, you know, it's like, look, dude, sometimes I hit it. Like, I'm not good enough to control my distance, so sometimes I hit a rocket ball, and sometimes I hit it fat.
Mm-hmm.
And Benjo and I, like, dude, we were dialed, man. He knew when I was striping it. He knew when I wasn't. And we won our first, like, three or 4 matches. Like we were the last undefeated squadron, and then shit went to hell in a handbasket the last like day and a half. But when I was in peak form, dude, you couldn't stop me and Benjo. Dude, you could have put fucking Fluff and Tiger out there, and like I'm pretty sure if he gave me like 18 strokes, maybe, I'd have come close.
Bandon, that is a special place. That's a special place.
Beautiful.
Going back really quick, I'm gonna circle back. So the sleep apnea thing, there's now, maybe it's trending on the internet because the internet knows I snore. But I've recently seen this mouth tape thing. Have you seen this?
I don't know what that is.
So
mouth
similar
tape?
to like, I don't know if it totally addresses sleep apnea or. Because there is this component of sleep apnea where like your lower jaw does collapse inwards, and so it like traps air. But ultimately, we're supposed to breathe and breathe more efficiently when we breathe through our nose. So there's this mouth tape thing that literally like tape goes over your mouth, and you're forced to breathe through your nose all night. And people work out with it and they sleep with it and they swear by it. Like, and I didn't know if in an effort to like the machine you use, or like if you've ever tried other alternatives, or you're just like, fuck it, this works, I'm using it.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was, dude, first of all, it was the weirdest thing ever. Cause like when you're not used to having air pumped into you, it was the strangest feeling, man. It's like you feel like you're blown up like a balloon. But like now that it happens, and now that I sleep so well with it, and I've had other buddies, like, I mean, luckily one of my buddies who's roughly my same age out here, he was talking to me about it, and he kind of took away the sting for me, because he's like, dude, I got one, and I like first 2 nights, he's like, I thought I had it. I used my dad's machine. I slept like a fucking champion, and now I've never not used it.
Really?
And so, yeah, I've never looked into the tape or the mount thing. I just know this works. I mean, I'll probably look at, other solutions for travel because it sucks to take the whole thing and like
Mm-hmm.
you got to clean the bitch and like I'd rather like a little, hey, for my jaw for some nights or I slap tape on my beard somehow.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
Connor
that's why.
McDavid in the playoffs.
So takeaway. Like, I'd be interested because you have way more knowledge on this than I do. But as the way things go, sounds like I'm going to need to pay quick attention to this. So I'd be interested to get your feedback on the mouth tape thing.
Dude, yeah, send me a link. Yeah, and just for the record, like, I don't pretend to really know shit about shit. Like, this is what I think I know. But like, I know me and my own experience with it. But like, I mean, I don't know. I could be wrong about a lot of this stuff. But like, directionally, I know it's right.
I've been accused recently by someone that is very close to me on a daily basis that I might snore sometimes, and I think her version of that snoring might sometimes would maybe different word choices would be used.
Yeah,
So
sure.
definitely gonna take some of this as a little takeaway for myself. So those listening,
Get it checked out.
Jason would win in a competition. That's where we got here. Non-linear.
Yeah, I couldn't remember why we were here.
Non-linear. So we got here just to rein us all back in. Okay. Going back to the competition. Jason's winning a competition, last minute travel, no blood pressure raised because he is used to it because of Priceline offering crazy discounts and him just beating the world at this, which I think is exceptional, and I would gladly volunteer myself to be in the top 10,000 of that competition.
Yeah,
anyone else who would like to
join, sound so cool.
Sign up. Going with that, so my twofold question to that was, one, I think a very specific part of that competition is not raising your blood pressure or your heart rate. You said heart rate, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this isn't a counter to that question or challenge, but it's more even because I know there's people that do like some pretty significant training when it comes to like heart rate monitoring, not just elevating and keeping the same, but like keeping it super level no matter what you're doing. It's more like a mental discipline, right? Navy SEALs would be an extreme example. I've seen athletes in certain sports, golf specifically, at least that I've seen, where they will measure heart rate, and more in like the sports psychology realm, where you'll go sit with a sports psychologist and they'll put you through a bunch of different stimuli, and heart rate is being monitored the whole time, and the goal is to keep it the same because you have ebbs and flows in tournament golf, and trying to, and it's even more specific than that, where they will find whatever that heart rate is, where it's like your flow state, and you try and stay there. So you're put through a bunch of stimuli, whether it's watching, audio, certain feelings, certain emotions, and you try and keep it in that flow state. Long-winded way of saying, I think some people could be very successful at this competition who might be terrible last-minute travel planners or last-minute travelers, but really good at just like knowing how to monitor heart rate because of training like that.
So I would say two things. The heart rate monitoring might not be the best way to measure the success there, because it could be blood pressure. It could also be like somehow we're measuring cortisol levels, which is the stress hormone.
I was going to say like how cool and calm collected you are. So
I would argue that a lot of these athletes and a lot of these super trained professionals, there is a big difference between I'm Steph Curry, this is the finals, and I need to make a three-pointer. Big difference between that and Aisha, my wife, is expecting me to have this trip figured the fuck out. And if we don't get on that plane and we are there half a day late, all of the plans that she made for us are down the tubes, and I'm going to ruin the rest.
Sure.
Rest of the year. Maybe next 2 years if I fuck this up. So I think the added pressure from other people is going to get them. Because Scotty Scheffler, dude, he could hit golf balls in his sleep.
To that point, the variables that are out of your control, right? So it's not just even under pressure, even under stress, I can sink the 3-pointer or I can make the long putt. It's, I got people in a line. I got TSA security at an airport. I got traffic going into the airport. I got parking. I got natural delays in flights. Like, there's so many variables that no matter how dialed in you are so out of your control that, like, that's enough to send anyone off the deep end.
And I don't care what kind of training you have. Like, you could have the best heart rate monitoring system that there ever was personally, and then in your game, in your flow state, but ain't a single fucking man on earth controlling his heart rate and emotions and all that when you're traveling with, like, your girlfriend, your wife, family, your mom. Like, when you're traveling with other people that can, like, really significantly impact the next, like, couple days of your own happiness.
Agreed,
like,
but that's a slight twist to the competition.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
My understanding of the competition was I'm just traveling. If I got to add family in the mix, shit, make it the top 1,000 because I'll keep it.
Yeah. Well, maybe it's just the next trip you have, and now for them it just so happens to involve other people.
Sure,
for me, it just so happens to involve mostly just me. But yeah, I think that's also one of my advantages in this situation is, like, I'm single, ready to mingle, ladies. But, like, I mean, at the end of the day, like, you know, I'm traveling solo and people already, like, it's already baked into me going anywhere.
Sure.
That, like, half the time I think, like, as weird as it is, because I'm always there, like, people are always like, I didn't think you were going to make it. And I'm like, why? But they're just like, I don't know. Like, we all talked about it and we're all surprised that you're here. I'm like, why? It's like, dude, this is your wedding. And he's like, I know. He's like, I know, man. I mean, I have a secondary best man just in case, because, like, no one trusts you, like, apparently. Like,
or
but
just because you do things, just because you do things differently that people can't relate to, they think it's not going to work.
And that's exactly it. Like, people are in such a mindset that, like, if I don't book this 6 months in advance, they're not going to let me at the airport.
Yeah.
And if I don't get there more than 3 hours before my flight, like, they're going to shut me down. Like, no, dude, you get TSA pre-check. You get TSA pre-check, dude. Like, I've shown up to the airport. Like, I've shown up to the airport so close to the time that I couldn't even do mobile check-in.
Yeah.
Because, like, it was shut down because the flight was too close. And you breeze through there.
I'm not proud of it, but I've had very similar moments. Like, where they look at me like, you're here for that flight? And I'm like, yeah. And if we talk for 30 seconds longer, I'm not making it. So, like, am I good to go? Like, I don't want to talk about the fact that I'm quote unquote running late. Like, because I'm not. But if we continue talking about it, then I am running late. But right now, I gotta go.
Yeah, I'm running exactly on time.
Exactly on time, and you are delaying me by the second. Which is honestly really absurd because in hindsight, you think there's a middle ground that you and I could have to the planning a little bit. See, but you and I had this conversation, and there's a difference between planning and the freedom to pivot.
Oh, dude. And here's the other thing that you and I have that, you know, maybe top 10,000, both of us, is that there are also, like, so many different, like, altercations or weird situations you can get into. And our ability to very swiftly pass through them with, like, some lighthearted jokes and authenticity. Because, like, dude, you could get to that person and now all of a sudden, like, they need to check your luggage. And, like, if you're a little snarky, they know you're running late. They're just going to be like, well, I better call my manager or, like, something. You know, like, anything can happen. But for me, dude, like, there are so many times when I'm at an airport and, like, something is not supposed to go my way, but because I'm the only nice person they've talked to in the last 3 years at this airport, they're just like, you're so kind. And I'm like, I mean, honestly, I just asked you how your day was, but, like, kindness, I mean, I am kind.
Kindness, a wink, a smile, and...
Oh, buddy.
Ding, 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 a $5 bill.
Oh, there are very... What in this life is not solved? I mean, realistically, like, how many jams have you ever not been able to get out of with a crisp 5?
Yeah, just especially in situations like that. Like, airport, luggage overweight. Like, dude, I do this like clockwork because a lot of times I'm traveling with golf clubs. And it is absurd
Yeah.
how many times your golf bag can be overweight. You're like, no way. Like, couple shoes, couple balls, going on a trip to Bandon, I'm going to be gravy. You pick it up out of the Uber to the airport, and you're like, damn, this thing is heavy. So you look at it, and you're like, well, I could go wait in line and have, like, all eyes on me when I put it on the scale. Or I could walk up to curbside check-in, have my wallet out, flashing a 5, like a rose in my teeth. Hey, how you doing? Here's this for you. And the guy just looks at you like, hey, man, oh, nice weather today, huh? Or damn, shitty weather. Glad you're under this canopy. Like, oh, yep, going to Oregon where it's raining for 4 days. And he just laughs and he's like, slaps your bag over his shoulder and doesn't even touch the scale. And you're like, have a good one.
Well, dude, yeah. And dude, there was this one time I did show up with overweight luggage. And they're supposed to charge you, I forget what it was on American Airlines. I think it was $1.2 million extra for the bag.
Yeah.
So
the
guy
going
was
rate
like, he's like, oh man, I kind of feel bad. Like, he's like, let's do this. And I'm like, is there any way, like anything we could think of here? And he's like, I'll tell you what. He's like, do you think that there's stuff that you could pull out of that bag that you could put in like a cardboard box and like, you'd be cool if it kind of got a little damaged, but like it probably won't. And I'm like, buddy, you offered me a solution. I don't have $1.2 million on me. So like, yeah, dude goes and gets a cardboard box.
Come on, this actually happened?
This actually happened. He went and got a cardboard box, came back, and I was literally shoveling clothes into the cardboard box. He tapes it up.
Oh my God.
And then he like, whatever code he puts in, that it only counted as one bag. And apparently the big problem with like the overweight luggage is not even that it's too much weight for the plane. It's just that people have to manipulate this bag.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like they have to like carry this thing. We don't want our people to have to carry a 150-pound bag. So long story short, yeah, dude, he said like, I literally was like waiting at the thing and
That
like
is
off comes like this
unbelievable.
cardboard box. And everyone's like, why is there a cardboard box? And I'm like, because of Bob. Like,
Dude, that is
exceptional
service.
service.
An amazing story. What a great solution. I hope you threw Bob a 5.
Dude, Bob was made whole at the end of this
good.
transaction. It wasn't even like a $5 bill thing because it was like in my head when that happens,
Bob went above
I'm
and
like,
beyond.
okay, he did. And
Yeah.
so there's like back to tipping. It's like he saved me not 1.2 million, but he probably saved me, I think it was like $75.
Sure.
So I was like, I'll tell you what, Bob, like we're not going to get into specific change situations here. I had some like 20s and stuff. I think I might have gave him like $25
Love it.
because he saved me like $75. And I was like, Bob, or whatever his name was. But I was like, dude, you like, no one ever helps in this way. And I just really appreciate you, dude. So yeah, I somehow gave him some part of what I saved. It was more than $5, but
that's a glass half full kind of approach, Jason, because you could look at it and say Bob saved you $75 or $50 if you ended up giving him 25.
Yep.
And you could also look at it and say Bob cost you $25 because he didn't just let it slide.
yeah.
Moral of the story,
Dude.
for those traveling wanderers, just have a 5 out already. Before the box,
ready to
before the
go.
bag. Just as if like you're getting your ID and you let them know like this is already going to you if you don't fuck up. And your version of fucking up for me right now is telling me that my bag is 51 pounds. So like I got a 5. You know the scale's there. I know the scale's there because I walked up like a veteran traveler. I didn't walk up like, where do I put my bag? I walked up with a 5 in my hand like, I got a golf bag, buddy. I'm going on a trip for 5 days. This shit's heavy. You feel me? You see what I'm saying? You catch my drift? And if he doesn't catch your drift, then you're dealing with the wrong homie.
Dude, I can't even tell you how many times I've been there with a bag, because golf bags are traditionally, or they can be heavy depending on what you put in them. But like they do the thing that sometimes people do at like the deli counter when like you've asked for a pound of turkey and they give you 1.1 pounds and they like hold the 0.1 pounds off and they like print the ticket and then they slap it back down.
Yeah.
Like they've done like literally like there have been teams of people that like the guy will like punch it and he's like, ooh, it's 51 pounds. He's like, I think I could probably maybe make this work. And he like grabs it and just applies 3 pounds of force to like, you know.
And folks,
like,
if
no sweat
anyone
on Bob's
listening
back.
was wondering if Jason is from the Northeast, the deli example is all you need to confirm he is in fact from the Northeast.
I am from the Northeast, yeah. Yeah, I'm telling you, man, deli counters are great.
Oh yeah, they're awesome, and they need to be done better in other parts of the country, but that's a conversation for another day. So,
Oh, for sure.
exceptional answer. It's one of the many reasons I love this podcast, because as well as you and I know each other, like that was beautifully out of left field, and I am now thinking about it. Like, would I be in the top 10,000? Like, I really think I would, but I might get the heart rate thing threw me off because I might get in a little bit of the tiz. But last follow up to that before we move on would be
The tiz.
do you utilize the watering holes at the airport in situations where you're just unsure of what the timing is going to be?
Oh, like a restroom, you mean, or the bar?
Oh, no. I'm talking about getting a cocktail, getting a couple of beers while you're waiting for whatever's happening.
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, I would say I almost always have some semblance of a beer, some sort of cocktail when I'm at an airport.
Yeah.
And that's like, even if I really don't have that much time, because it's like, dude, you could drink a beer in 5 seconds. So like, but usually what I'll do is I'll pick a situation that's not super crowded, right? Because I don't need like one beer and then we're like waiting for checks and like everything's getting crazy. But like, yeah, man, there's almost no scenario.
It's one of the beautiful things about air travel. It's like you just get to have a beer. Like, it is one of the only environments where it is totally acceptable to just walk up to the airport bar at 7:30 a.m. and be like, I will have an IPA. And no one looks at you funny, right?
Oh.
Totally acceptable to have a Bloody Mary or a mimosa or whatever. You get an IPA.
You're like in international waters.
Yeah. Like, you go to a regular bar, and you get a Bloody Mary, mimosa, totally normal. You walk up to a regular bar at 7 in the morning and you order an IPA, and the bartender looks at you like you got a problem. You're like, the motherfucker's drinking liquor next to me. I ordered a beer and that's bad. Go to an airport and they're like, yeah, sure. You want a short or a tall? You're like, well, I think you know the answer.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Let's be
Do I
honest.
look like a short or a tall guy?
Yeah, and dude, and one of my favorite things too, and I would actually love to hear from the audience if this is obnoxious or not. Maybe we even have a segment called like obnoxious or not, but obnoxious or not. I don't know. Either way, we'll work on the title. But like when you're on an airplane, so let me ask you a question. You're on an airplane, and let's suppose that the 3 snacks are something that you like. Mm-hmm. So they're like, would you like a cookie, crackers, or pretzels? They say or. What do you do? All 3.
If I want all 3,
right?
all fucking day long, and here's my card for the cocktail I'm about to order.
Dude, correct. Like, it's always, I never just get one, and I'll ask different questions sometimes around it, but like...
A bag of peanuts? What, for like, while I wait for my drink, and then what do I eat? Like, give me 3 of them.
Yeah, dude, and it reminds me, so there's something I do specifically at grocery stores and on flights. And so in grocery stores, it's a little bit different because sometimes they're like scanning something and it's like the barcode's not working. And I look at them and I'm like, oh, dude, you know what? I actually got that in the free section. So you could just toss that in the bag. We're good to go. The one I do on airplanes that I absolutely love, and that probably is obnoxious. I don't know.
No, it's
but
not. I
on
love
the
it.
airplanes, like generally when I order a drink, I'll say something along the lines of like, depending on the person, I kind of feel them out, but I'll either say something like, you know, honestly, you seem really busy and I know this transaction is going to take a lot. So like, if you don't say anything, I won't say anything. You put something in the cup. or I'll be like, oh yeah, so I heard at the airport today, these are buy one, get one. Like, I'll just like some level of joke.
Funny,
Dude, I have
witty,
gotten...
yeah.
Because they just don't get that. Like, people are just like, I'll have a scotch. Here's my card.
People are miserable, dude. They're
Yeah,
so
you know,
miserable.
like-
Yeah. Also, people are miserable traveling. So, like, if you think about, okay, here's one for you. Real quick question, and then we'll change. And maybe this is more of a question to you and I, and we can see how it comes across after listening to it.
Okay.
So here's a question for you. As a good-looking single guy, when you're traveling alone, not even, it doesn't have to be alone, but like zero flirtation with the stewardess at all. Simply an acknowledgement when you get on the plane, like a smile, like, hey, good morning, how you doing? Totally normal. Not like a, oh, hey, girl. Like, just an absolute gentlemanly, normal thing to do walking on the plane.
Yeah.
How often in your life have you not paid for the beverages you order on that flight?
Have I not paid for beverages? I would say that I generally pay for, and being as honest as I can, I certainly pay for less than half.
Less
But
than
I
half,
probably
right?
pay. Yeah, it's less than half for sure.
Yeah.
Like, stretch would be a quarter of the time, but
Sure.
sometimes I just, I would say for sure less than half of the time.
Dude, I'm the same way, and I think it's close to a quarter. So like, and it's not a. I also watch what's happening around me, and I'm like, not everyone is getting a free drink. Like,
right.
they don't go up and down the aisle and just like, oh yeah, you're good, you're good, you're good. So, but then like, and a lot of times I don't know, I don't know what to put on that. Sometimes it's like I order another one, and then like you order a drink just with enough time to drink it, but not enough time to close the tab out, and then like. But it's interesting to hear, because I know I've talked to some other people about that, and they're like, I've never not paid for a drink on a plane, or like only on certain holidays, and I'm like, dude, I pay for it way less than I don't pay for it.
Oh, for sure. And I would also say that, like, even in the times that I do pay for it, like, I almost always force the issue a little bit
Sure.
with humor. Like, I'm never aggressive about it. But I'll always be like, hey, like, I'll always make a joke, and I might say like, hey, I heard that, fuel costs have gone up a lot. And I was thinking, like, if I could take some weight off this plane, it would probably help. And those little bottles you got with the alcohol in them, like, they're like a couple grams each. And like, honestly, dude, even when I pay for stuff, so if you're asking me like how often on a flight where I order a drink do I pay at some
Correct.
point, a little less than 50%. If you're asking me how many of the drinks I get in total that I pay for, it's closer to 25 because of that. Because I almost always get extras for
100%.
free, because I'll always make a joke.
Yeah.
And it's like, sometimes it works.
Okay,
and
so
sometimes it doesn't.
So
but
obnoxious or not, I think if you asked a lot of people, call it more neutral parties, they would say some of those comments are obnoxious. But if they were so obnoxious, why would the person be giving me a free drink? Because they feel offended? No.
this is a beautiful point you're making. And if I had like a second competition, I don't exactly know how this would work, but I would get to choose what we say to somebody. And
see who
then
can get away with
I
it.
have to be in the top 10,000. Exactly. Yeah. Because, dude, I don't know why I did that. I was really excited. But, did you see that?
Yeah,
I was
you were
like
super
floating.
excited.
Dude, so I was at Chevron the other day, and I was buying Zins. It was actually this very tin of Zins I was buying. So I'm in there, and the lady had really long fingernails. And they were cool, but they were like, dude, because you get the fingernails, and some of them are like long, and some of them are like, whoa.
Sure.
These were whoa level, and they were also bedazzled.
Ooh.
So they had like gems that made them like a finger thickness above the nail.
wow.
Like there was a lot going on. Like you could see these things from outer space, dude. So I'm sitting there talking to her, and I was like, what did I say to her? Yeah, so I asked, is it harder for you to type with the longer fingernails? Because she was at the time, because the screen, let's say the screen is here,
Sure.
right? Because most times people are like,
Yeah, she's got to lay it down
but
flat.
she's got to go chop, 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 chop. Yeah. So she was doing that, and I asked her, and she gave me her answer, and I was reading the situation because, like, I know that that's kind of like a borderline thing to ask somebody. And my female friends and anybody I've ever dated always gets really upset when I do it. So then I asked her, like, point blank, and I was like, out of curiosity, like, does it bug you if people ask questions like that? Because, like, I'm trying to, like, I was curious about it, but whatever. And she was like, she's like, honestly, like 99% of the time when people ask me that, I really don't like it. And the reason is, like, a lot of times it's coming from other females that are older and they're kind of like condescending to me when they ask it. And I go, and she's like, and they usually ask me like blah, blah, blah. And I go, yeah, but I mean, like, I asked you like literally that exact same question. And like, you would have to trust my read on this. And like, yes, I'm there with her and maybe she doesn't want to tell me whatever, but like that the haters will say it's fake, But she goes, like, she like sat and thought about it for a second. She's like, honestly, like, she's like, I don't know why, but like the way you asked it was just like, it just didn't bother me. Like, I thought it was like a funny,
genuine, authentic. It wasn't condescending. Yeah.
Yeah, because I was just like, I wasn't judging her nails. I liked them, and I told her I liked them, but I was like, yeah, like, is that? And she's like, yeah, the way you asked it was just like, it was fine. Like, I thought it was, I didn't even like, it didn't feel like the other nail questions. And that's something that you and I both have. So that might be part of my competition somehow, is like, I get to pick what we say. And if you get away with it, you win.
I love it. Have you,
And
two things.
for sure.
Completely, one semi-related, one completely unrelated, but I don't want to forget it about it as it pertains to Zins.
Sure.
The first one would be, have you ever watched the show Impractical Jokers?
Yeah.
Absurd show, and like totally seems like where this competition would kick in. Like
100%.
how many free drinks can you get on this plane without getting in trouble? Like, or like,
that would be tremendous.
That just reminded me of that. Today I caddied this afternoon. Okay.
Yeah.
And I had this very interesting, awesome group of guys, like awesome, from St. Louis. Up there, they were there for like a work event, sort of, and it was, some guy got invited. It was just like a small outing, all with like some smaller insurance company from agencies across the country. So one guy got the invite. His like business partner sort of was there as well. And then he brought his two friends. The makeup of this group was the one guy who was like a regular 5'10", 5'9", maybe, like great head of hair, regular Caucasian.
Like average height.
The next guy is like 6'3", freckles, wearing all black with some absolutely pimp Jordan golf shoes. But he's terrible at golf. He's wearing like joggers, all black, pimp Jordan shoes, terrible at golf. He's like, you might as well look the part. He's one of the buddies.
Yeah.
The third buddy is this absolute, like, talk about enormous human being. Like, he's got a regular sized head. His entire body goes to about a 45-degree or 45-inch waist. And then it goes back. By the time we're at the ankles, it's regular size, right? So he's just like, just like this, right?
He's like Robotnik from Sonic the Hedgehog.
Favorite character of
Dr.
the day.
Robotnik.
I mean, an absolute character. And then this like shorter Taiwanese guy, right? So like, these guys have an opportunity to play this course we're playing. And it's a course that a lot of people, it's like a destination thing. It's super private. So they're super jazzed. They're staying overnight. They're having a time today. So I get a couple bevies flowing. They're playing golf. And they're like, look, we're terrible at golf. We'll listen to you. And so I'm kind of coaching them around the place, yakking it up with them. And they're having a blast. Buddy, at some point, actually not at some point, it was like the 17th hole. Okay. Sun is like getting lower. It's dusk. I pull out because of this national catastrophe that is the Zyn shortage. I pull out like a can of like, I think I had some ons, right? So I casually pull one out, pop it in. And this big dude who's just he's if there's a stereotypical big dude in the group of friends that you have who is the life of the party, he's always got jokes. I mean, he's everything that is the big dude in a group. He looks at me, he's like, "Oh, buddy," like he's got one of these in his cart, and he goes, "Buddy, I got some of the real OGs in the cart if you want one." And I was like, "No, I'm totally good. I appreciate it though." I said, "But believe it or not, like there's a shortage." And he goes, "Dude, we still got them down in Missouri." He's like, "They're way cheaper than up here. We stopped at a gas station." So we're having this conversation. I go to help the guy across the fairway. And he looks at me again and then looks at the guy who I'm standing next to who has a very difficult shot out of the bunker. And he goes, "Both of you guys should come over here and get a real Zimbabwe." Sticks his belly out, dude. And like the timing of it was so perfect. And I was like, I am 100% using that movie.
Dude,
forward.
Hell yeah.
Just this big dude leaning back going, "You got to get a real Zimbabwe." I was in tears. So from now on, Zimbabwe.
Well, dude, this national shortage is a real problem. Like the other day, I drove around to probably no joke at all. I drove to 10 gas stations to try and find one because they're all pretty close to each other out by where I live. So it's not like I'm driving half an hour, But yeah, dude, I drove 10 different gas stations. One finally had them. And in my head, dude, this is not me at all. I would never be the guy who hoards toilet paper and sells them online. Sure. But I thought about it and I'm like, dude, I literally should just buy every single one he has. Not even to resell. I'm like, dude, this is a catastrophe. You used the right word. And I was like, dude, and then maybe I probably could honestly sell these for they're out here, they're $7 a piece. I could probably sell them for $15. Sure. Because and the thing is, the real Zimbabwe's, they're just better than all the other ones.
So I had ons today, man. Granted, they were 8-packers, which, but dude, I mean, I thought someone put a CPAP machine and then a dragon blew in it when I put that in my mouth because I was like,
dude, if I at this point put an 8 on in my mouth, I'd have to hold on to the grass so I didn't fall off the fucking earth. They do not sit well, man. The fucking even the Zinni 6s, bad, dude. They're bad, and the ons have the dust in the bones. So the ons are just dude, you're just eating sand. It's not good. There's no way that's okay. I don't know why that happens.
We still have to get to the bottom of this, and we're going to. We're just not going to do it now. But there's something tells me there's something going on here.
Something's not adding up, and I don't like it. I'm pretty sure the Clintons are involved, or at the very least, Hunter Biden.
Just making all of I don't even want to say it out loud.
Dude, just get that laptop and just let me take a quick peek because I bet there's something about Zins on that.
I might just go back 100%. To old school tobacco, man, because there's got some weird shit going on here. I'll tell you this much,
dude. We can't even get
as a man who used to throw that old school straight cope long cut right in the pouch right here. That shit never made my stomach hurt,
dude. Yeah,
never made my throat hurt. I mean, I had a burn on the lip, and that's about it. Sometimes I put these things in, I'm like, what the fuck is happening back there? Why am I on fire? What is going on?
It sucks.
Yeah, I gotta drink water.
Well, dude, because it's because sometimes you put them in and you're just the angels are singing. And then sometimes you put them in and it's the gates of hell have opened. And I'm getting sucked toward the center of the earth.
You know what it is? It's that little gremlin that's organizing all the notes in your brain when you're sleeping has actually got a blowtorch right to the back of your throat.
Just hammering you, dude.
yeah, and you're like, sorry, dude, I'll get more sleep tomorrow. I'll do my best.
Well, dude, that's the thing. Yeah, you get the gremlin buzzing, man, and nothing good happens.
He comes out of
when
your
that
brain
goes
and starts
down.
attacking other parts of your body. Getting old as a bitch.
He just like opens the back hatch, and now I have joint pain.
How did he go from my brain to my throat? Like, what? Where did that happen? Now he's in my lip.
Just like yeah.
Jesus.
Dude, he does. He travels, man. He must be really
I
small.
went for a little longer run, and now my ankle hurts. Like, now he's just got a pickaxe on my ankle bone.
Dude, he was hammering my joints the other day.
Feisty little
what
fucker.
He was pissed off
He's
about.
mad that I ate a fucking sandwich. Sorry I had some bread. Now my ankle's gonna hurt for 2 days because I'm inflamed. Like, fuck, I just wanted a sandwich.
Dude is intolerant to many things, gluten among them. He doesn't like it. He doesn't
What do I gotta
like
have?
it.
My ham and cheese sandwich is now turned into ham. Because if I have the bread, I feel like shit. And if I have the cheese, I shit my brains down. So like fuck, can I just have one sandwich?
I'm just eating ham.
How was your ham sandwich good? I had 12 pieces of ham by itself. Yeah, it was awesome.
I could only eat the ham.
Did you have any condiments? I mean, on what? You just want me to put mayo and mustard on both sides of my ham and eat it? Like, fuck.
Dude,
Getting
nothing,
old, man.
I mean, that's like... Dude, that's like your 30s in a nutshell, dude. Just sandwiches.
Your 30s in your nutshell, sandwiches go from sandwiches to meat.
Yeah, and beer, man, is like a whole other thing. Like, dude, like you have too many of those, and I'll tell you, if you really want to get the gremlin pissed, like, dude, he starts beating the fucking war drums when that happens, man. He does not like those either.
Bro, have you ever had it where the gremlin turns into a porcupine?
Oh, buddy.
Like, he turns into a
Like,
porcupine
sometimes,
right at the bottom of your throat right here, and he's like, no more.
Oh.
You can't swallow your
Dude,
damn saliva.
he does that. Sometimes he burns hot. Sometimes he just, like, he puffs himself up and makes himself real, like, a big gremlin, and he just feel like he's, like, just in there, like, not having a good time. Dude, the gremlin, like, I'm sorry, buddy. I don't know.
And he turns around, so he doesn't even look at you. He's just like, I'm here. Fucking hell.
Yeah, he's just, and the thing is, like, he's such a, like, he's so steadfast that, like, you can't even question him, because it's, like, obviously he's the one thing in my life that, like, when he gets mad at me, I'm like, look, dude, I fucked up.
He's not
like,
wrong.
I don't even question him anymore.
Yeah.
Like I used to. He's never, dude doesn't miss.
No.
Dude doesn't miss.
He's
It's just what
spot
it
on.
is.
Like, dude, I pissed the gremlin off the last night. I had a Philly cheesesteak with the bread. Like, well, what the fuck is a Philly cheesesteak without the bread? No, you don't understand. Buddy, he was not happy about the bread. Like, it was brutal.
Dude, he said, look, we can try bread, but you don't need to put extra cheese on this.
Yeah.
Please don't put butter on that bread and toast it. Like, please don't do that. And it's just better, bud.
So, unbelievable. I mean, Jason, that was just exceptional, and I love that competition, and I can't wait for it to be a competition.
Has to be.
On a more potential serious note, in an effort to really get to know the Jay Raven himself, what do you know more about than most people on the planet?
Oh, God. And you know what's funny is, so for people who saw episode 1, these are questions that we will be asking everyone, and they're questions that we've come up with. So like I know them, but like I've actively not thought about them until right now to see how like readily I can answer them.
And we both did that. We talked about this last week, so like we had some questions, and I did the same. I actively, like, the minute my brain was like, oh, that's a question, I would just try to change the topic in my brain so I wasn't thinking about it, and did it successfully, because that's how you have a natural conversation.
Yeah, and ADD is a hell of a condition. Okay, so what I know more about than most people on the planet, and obviously this is not all people on the planet, because I don't know anything more than all people other than how to be me. But I would say I'll split this into a couple different categories. So from a work perspective, what I've just been doing with my life, like I know medical insurance and I know the financials of it better than anyone else, most people on the planet, not than anyone else, but better than most people on the planet, like how to save companies money with, their employee benefits programs. Not a pitch. It's just something I know a lot about because I happen to be a math guy and I got into this industry. One of the things that I've researched lately that I know more than most people on the planet, and you and I have talked about this like ad nauseum at this point, is just different facts about outer space, like how many stars there are, how big the galaxy is, the speed of light, like a lot of the arguments around whether or not aliens are likely to exist, whether or not they do exist. So like extraterrestrial life, how likely it is. So I know an awful lot about that, which like I just kind of randomly learned about, like more about that. At different points in my life, I know different things more than most people do because I go really deep on the research of them. The other one, and it was kind of part of my answer with the last. I don't know if that it's I know more about this than other people, or I'm just able to do it better than other people. But the conversation we had around, like, I can deliver the same message that other people deliver, but it just sounds different and it's received differently. So I think like what I know is I think I know people fundamentally more than most people. I think because like a lot of people don't really treat other human beings as if they are other human beings. And I just always have, like, it's just in my nature to like, I'm a person, dude. I'm super flawed. And I approach everything with that same like, look, I don't care who you are or what you're doing. You're probably great at some stuff and you're probably worse at a lot more things than you're great at. And like, let's just have a real conversation. So like, I know through experience that people really enjoy authenticity, which sounds like a cop-out because it's like everyone knows that, but nobody does it. So like, do you know it? And people are afraid to do it maybe. So because they're afraid to do it, they don't do it. So they don't really know that that's the case. They just kind of think that it might be the case. And I also know / have the ability to get upset with my mother more than anyone else on this planet. Like, not that I get more upset with her than I do anybody else, although I probably do honestly, because it's just like your family is just like my brother and I got into an argument about Parcheesi rules. I was right, by the way, Chris. Dude, we actually emailed the story for another day.
No, story for right now because we're a diehard Parcheesi family, so lay it on thick. Let's go.
Buddy. Okay, so let me ask you a question.
This could be an answer. Maybe you know more about Parcheesi than most people, because I feel like I do.
I actually, you're right. I know more about the rules, the actual rules of Parcheesi.
Let's dance this dance. Come on.
So in Parcheesi, they have the safe spaces. And the safe spaces, only one team can occupy at any point in time. So what happened was I was ahead of my brother. I was 5 spaces ahead of him. And I was on a safe space. He rolls 2 5s. And he said, well, because I rolled a 10, I can move 10. And I said, hold the phone, motherfucker. No, you can't, because you cannot move 5. Because the die are resolved independently. And he said, no, they're not.
Yes,
we
they
go
are.
to the rule book. So they are resolved independently, you're saying. So in your mind, he could not move 10 because he couldn't move 5.
We've never played that way, but we play in a way where, like, if you can only move, I'm trying to think of a situation. If there's a block in front of you and the block is 10 spaces away and you roll a 6 and a 4, you can't move the 10, but you have to move the 6.
Yeah.
You have to move the maximum individual dice that you've rolled, even if it puts you in jeopardy.
Yeah.
But in the scenario that you're explaining,
Yeah.
like that's contrary to the rule that I just explained, but I feel like you could still move the 10
Well, it's
because there's a
not.
combined nature of the dice that doesn't put your end result into place.
No, so if you read the rules, so Parcheesi has actually been purchased from the original manufacturer, all of which we found out during this debacle. So it was actually over like last Christmas holiday.
Okay.
So he did it, and he would have won the game anyway, right? Like, you know, in Parcheesi, like if you're far enough ahead, like we could argue maybe all, you know, with luck, he was going to win the game. I conceded it. And it's also important because on the back of the board, he writes the champion of the round. So there's like a running tally of who wins. So the stakes are high. The stakes are high. So basically I said, you cannot move 10 because you can't move either 5. So you can't move at all. He argues with me. He makes the move, whatever, we move on. My nephew, Braden, you little shit, was also chirping me. Yeah, he's protecting his dad.
Sure.
I get it. I would take my dad's side too, probably. You know? Because the thing that he doesn't know, the thing that Braden doesn't know, is that I kicked ass in high school, and then his mom used to cheat off me in German. So maybe this is a revelation. I don't know.
And
but
you're just
know
reminding
that
Braden that you still kick ass.
Braden, I kick so much ass. Peyton and Evelyn as well. I kick all the ass. So when it comes to board games anyway, your dad could kick my ass physically, but when it comes to board games and rules and, you know, some other things, I'm probably better. Anyway, I'm better at breakfast potatoes as well.
Ooh,
better than
shots fired.
And that was like that was a sore subject in the family because the girls, the 10-year-old and 6-year-old, wanted me to cook potatoes when their dad was like making us breakfast for dinner. And he tried his best to not be super upset about it, but like, it definitely, like, he's like, you're asking like another man to cook in my kitchen. Like, and they were like, yeah, because he makes kick-ass potatoes, baby. Got fired up.
Side
Dude,
note,
so I had to make the
potato
potatoes.
recipe. I want to see how it's stacked up.
Dude, I got you, fam.
Okay.
And like, I've cooked them for other people, and they're always like, oh, these are potatoes. I'm like, just fucking wait. There's a whole thing. Anyway, make great potatoes. And I'm single, so like I can do all that for you, you know, if you're interested.
Hello, ladies.
So anyway, the listeners. So in the Parcheesi game, so it was purchased from the original owner because we were going to Reddit. We were going to all sorts of like boards to see like what we could do. We end up emailing it was like a Chinese company that had purchased the game from like Hasbro or whatever the hell, Parker Brothers, whoever made the original game. So we check it out. We give them the exact move. They email it. We thought we were never going to get a call back because it's like, dude, the Parcheesi customer service. How often are they reached out
someone
to?
Behind
like,
that desk
I didn't even know
that
it was a thing.
Waited for a year for this question.
For years, dude, just literally sitting there. Like somebody has to have a dispute somewhere. So like they're sitting there playing Parcheesi with the only other person that works in the department or by themselves because there's no one else there. So anyway.
No, there's just two of them. They're playing doubles.
So this Mofk emails us back the next day and is like, yo, you cannot move at all because the die are resolved independently. And in the rule book,
it does
the
say
rule book that we have, it stipulates you could, if you roll a 4 and a 6, you move 10. You move 4 and then 6.
Or 6 and then 4.
Or 6 and then 4.
That's accurate.
And my whole argument was, yeah, they wouldn't state that if that wasn't a pertinent piece of information.
Point.
Yeah.
That makes total sense.
Yeah. And then there's all sorts of other stuff. Like the one you mentioned, I'm not actually even sure about that one. Like that you have to move the 6 instead of the 4. I mean, that sounds familiar. I haven't played it in a little while. I know you have to move at least one of them. But yeah, I think you have to take the bigger of the 2 or whatever. But yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, dude, we should... Buddy, we got to play Parcheesi.
I mean,
I love Parcheesi. Dude, it's my favorite game. Dude, I will smash you in Parcheesi.
I'll play.
And I hope you have the pieces with like the little camels. Do you have the camels or the little pawn guys?
No, we have 4 camels, 4 elephants, 4 buffalo, and 4 tigers.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, all color coordinated.
Yes, you do.
Have you ever played the game Catan? The Settlers of Catan?
No, I've not.
Dog. I love me some Parcheesi. Okay, I love it. It's great. It's awesome. It's a different. Catan is like, I don't even know where to start. It's the greatest board game ever. It's exceptional. Everything about it is awesome. You could get lost playing it. We're gonna have a marathon day. It's going to involve golf, ping pong, pickleball, bocce ball, Settlers of Catan, Parcheesi, Spades.
Dude, Spades is one of 2 games on my phone that I play daily. I love Spades.
Yeah.
I love Spades. And Settlers of Catan, like I've never played that. I know that it's a more involved game, and I have friends, my buddy Dan and his wife Steph, who's also a buddy of mine. I actually called her for a ruling on this Parcheesi thing, and she agreed with me. So thank you, Steph. But yeah, huge supporter of the pod, obviously. Sure. But Steph is, from what I understand, she's a huge board game enthusiast, but I think she's really into Settlers of Catan. So dude, I love like Monopoly, but playing with house rules where like you can wheel and deal.
Sure.
Like I love the wheeling and dealing. Like I'll take these, you don't pay for. So
that's why you would love Catan. The only thing I don't like about Monopoly is like, yeah, Monopoly was lost on me a couple years ago.
Really?
Yeah, I used to love it.
What happened?
I don't know. It just ended up, it was just like a little too like, you just own everything. And then everyone's just miserable and loses. Like,
it is, I will say, it is one game where there aren't winners and losers. There are just losers.
Yeah.
Because even if you actually win the game, everyone hates you.
Yeah, like no matter what the environment is you're playing, if you absolutely crush it, everyone's just like, fuck you, man. Like, you're an asshole. And you're like, no, I'm playing the game. Whereas like other games, if you win, it's like, okay, you won Parcheesi, like on to the next one, right? Like you win Catan, it's like, damn you, like you won, good job. Like Monopoly's like everyone feels like they got swindled and they just like over dinner they look at you differently, like, and you're like, dude, we played a game. They're like, did we though? Or like, is this what you do in real life? And you're like, we played a fucking board game.
Dude, my brother and I are so competitive, and my sister-in-law doesn't really play, so we have to play with the kids. Not have to. I mean, we enjoy playing with the kids, but the problem is, like, you're wheeling and dealing with the kiddos, and, like, you can make some deals that, like, you can be manipulative, and not that I manipulate any of you beautiful little children that are named Churchill, just like me. Like, I try not to, man, but it's like I'm trying to get a good deal. And so, like, I will give them legitimate deals, but if I'm, like, wheeling with my brother, dude, I'll trade him 2 passes to heaven for 3 passes to hell. Hey,
Jurgel kids, I have to interrupt. Anytime Uncle J Raven says that he is making a trade with you and not manipulating you, you need to perk up and pay attention. Because that is,
you're gonna like further ruin Monopoly that's already contentious.
Saying that they're not manipulating you is probably manipulating you, but they're gonna make it sound really good for you. It's gonna be a good deal.
Well, the thing is,
isn't brown your favorite color?
Every deal in Monopoly is a good deal if you look at it in the right way, because you learn lessons. You learn how important the railroads are.
This is where manipulation starts.
There'll be stronger people as a result of playing Monopoly with me. You know it, I know it, they'll realize it. It's fine.
So, health insurance, the rules of Parcheesi.
Yeah. For sure.
How to speak to people.
Space, random stuff. Yeah, how to talk to people. Yeah.
There was a second one in there. I'm just summing it up for the people.
It was like star stuff.
Oh, yeah. He knows more about space, which is actually true.
Yeah. And I would also say like pretty good deals in Monopoly. Like I'm pretty slick with it.
Pretty savvy with deals.
I mean, math, like I'm not a pure math guy, but like probability, I'm pretty nasty. So, I mean, realistically, I'm better at math than most people, so I know more about math than most people. Just because there are plenty of people that are... Yeah, because there are a lot of people that are good at it, but like most people, like if I'm talking 95% of people on Earth, I'm probably better at math than 95% of people on Earth.
That's what we were really looking for, because that's what those of us that know and love you, that's what we know for sure.
You could have just asked me if I'm good at math.
No. Why we wanted it to come from the horse's mouth.
Like, we had to get there. No, that's fair. But yeah, like anything, yeah, logically related. Like I'm pretty good at math in particular. Like I've just always been good at
So
math my whole life.
I feel like as someone who knows you, I'm gonna maybe steer this in a particular direction. And quite honestly, if I didn't know you, I would still steer it in this direction simply by the sort of energy and conviction in which you answered those questions. So the work one makes total sense. You have a profession, and over a period of time, given that you're 38, you've refined that profession to be knowledgeable in said profession, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, the niche of like board games and such, space as a voluntary endeavor when it comes to like research, sure. But I feel like as someone who knows you and your conviction, I can say the math thing, the numbers thing, the probability thing has sort of maybe at your age now, I don't want to say it's taken for granted, but like it was a very glaring strength of yours when I first met you. That was vastly different than most people I had met up until I met you, as far as your math prowess or your numbers knowledge, right? And I think you would agree if you actually reflect on it. Like if you were to pick one of those things,
Right.
things that you just listed and say like with certainty, what do I know more than most people on this planet about? Would you say space? Would you say communication with people? Would you say math, numbers? Would you say health insurance?
Yeah, I mean if yeah, I mean if I had to just pick one of them, it would be math.
Okay.
And then that kind of ties into just like logic in general,
Sure.
because like my brain is just highly logical.
Careful.
Like I'm an emotional
We're going to
person.
back into this. So the reason I say that is like the math thing then ties directly to, not solely, but directly to your profession and a lot of the value and expertise that you bring in your profession, right? Because your ability to be good at what you do professionally is not just your personality and your communication, but there is a plethora of knowledge, both learned and semi-inherent. Inherent meaning learned over the years in this situation, that lends itself to you being incredibly valuable in, say, the employee benefits world, right? So
Yeah.
I want to dive a little bit deeper into that. So like as a kid, and this comes out of genuine curiosity in an effort to better know you, maybe not for my purposes, but like for the audience, but also for me a little bit. And I'm fascinated by people and like the development of people and how things go from a knack as a child to like what you're good at now, right? And how that develops over time. So like what was the point, say, in your childhood, your schooling, where like let's call it a combination of like why you cared so much about math, or why, like how you knew more about it, and where that did it come from? You were in your first math class and you were just better than every other student, or was it like you were always this kid that was infatuated with numbers?
You know, man, I think so. Yeah, a lot going on there. I guess I'll answer it this way. I was always fascinated by math, and I don't know why. It was just one of those things that I think naturally as a person, you gravitate toward things you're good at.
Sure.
So like I knew relative to my peers, and I knew it pretty early on. Like I remember the first time that I sat there and thought like, wow, like I'm materially better at this than most people. And there were these things called holy cards. So I didn't go to like a Catholic school or anything like that. They were literally just these cardboard cutouts that had multiplication problems on them. And it would be like 9 times 3 is, and you wrote your answer in the little circle that you had. And then like you pull out the piece of paper and then, teacher grades it. So anyway, I remember in class, we would get these assignments and like, she'd boom, slap them down on our desks. And then we'd have like 15 minutes to do the fucking thing. And I'd sit there and I'd like literally, dude, I'd rip through it in like 30 seconds. And I'd be like, that's 27, that's 18, that's 14, whatever. And like, I'd flip it over and I remember the class. Like my math teacher, like, well, I mean, she taught us everything, but she was like general, education. Cause I was in like, I don't know, first or second grade whenever we were doing it. And she was like I remember she like looked at me and cause like I flipped it over and like, I almost thought I was in trouble, like she was like, and I looked at her and she looked at me and I was like, yeah, I'm fucking done with your shit. Like on to the next. And then, because of that, I then got tested when I was in like fourth grade. I got tested for like our gifted program. So they tested all of our IQs and it was, math, memory, whatever the hell we were. I don't even know what an IQ test does, but like a lot of it's like reasoning through things, remembering things. Like they would tell you a sentence and you'd repeat it and they'd tell you a longer sentence and they would show you a picture of shapes in a different orientation and you'd have to like recreate it on the thing that they had in front of you. So like at a very early age, I was always really good at problem solving in math. Then I just remember like I used to get in trouble in calculus class. I was in AP calculus because my math teacher, when I was in trigonometry, knew that I was nasty at math. So then I would blow through our assignments and then he would have me doing like calculus before I was in calculus. So I knew how to do calculus before I got to calculus class. And then my teacher wanted us to solve it through like fundamentals, but I already knew just directly how to solve things. So like I would just blast through it. And so like I remember like Mrs. Brain, if you're listening, she used to get really mad at me. She'd be like, Jason, you have to do this like the rest of the class. And I'm like,
no,
but I know how to do it better. Like, why would I do it that way? Like, I understand this. Like we're good. And she's like, we're not good. We weren't good. But, so then I go into college. I was originally pre-law. I didn't like that. I had a next door neighbor whose name was Marijuana Steve. And he had this 6 foot, like this green 6 foot, like plastic bong. And
why
basically Marijuana Steve and I had a great time. I don't know, to be honest with you, weird. But yeah, Marijuana Steve, yeah, it was weird that they called him that, with the bong and all, but yeah, that's what they called him. It was weird. He actually called himself that. I think I don't remember if he called himself that or we called him that. I don't, whatever. But Marijuana Steve.
Hey, nice to meet you. What's your name? Marijuana Steve. Okay.
I'm Marijuana Steve, So he's like, well, what do you do? What are you studying? Oh, I'm studying this. He's like, oh, are you good at math? I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty good at math. And he's like, have you ever thought about being an actuary? And I'm like, an actuary? Like, what the hell is that? And he's like, yeah, I swear to God, dude. He's like, honestly, man, I don't 100% know what they do, but my next door neighbor is one and he's got a huge house. And I was like, yo, and he does math? Like, yeah, dude, like fucking. So that's why I studied math, dude. I swear to God. So he told me that. So I go to
Marijuana Steve.
Marijuana Steve, dude. He set me on a path. So then I go into the class and they gave me like a calculus exam because they were like, well, you missed like a whole like half a year of math. So like you're going to be behind these people. So like we need to see what you know and don't know. So they gave me like some sort of exam. They gave me the final for the first class and I got like a 95 on it or something, like cold. And they were like, dude, you just like aced the fucking final exam for like,
the class you haven't
like
taken.
Our hardest math exam for the class that you haven't taken. And I'm like, I mean, I'm good at this math. Like I'm not good at all math. Like, cause there's more theoretical math that I'm not great at. But when it comes to like probability theory, when it came to differential equations, like calculus, like I was just really good at it. So anyway, then later on, and when I really knew something was up was there were a bunch of tryhards. So it was my sophomore year, their freshman year.
In high school.
So like
college.
I tested and then this was in college. Okay. So basically I had to bust through 4 years of math classes in 3 years because I was a year behind. So my first year, I just did a bunch of gen ed stuff. It was actually, the exam I took wasn't just the first semester. It was like the first year of calculus. So the first year, and that's when they weed a lot of the people out of the math program. And my school had like a really strong math program, Lebanon Valley College, actually. So long story short, I then start taking all the math classes, and there's, and the kids that are studying math at that level of college, like they really fucking like math. So, they're sitting there, they're like getting hundreds on all these exams, or like they're struggling with some of it. And like, I just was always good at taking math tests, not all tests that I had to actually like read a book and remember shit, but like math tests, like at least at that level, I just like probability theory. I was like, yo, this makes 100% sense. So the actuarial exam process, typically they pass like, at the time it was like 40 or 50% of people that sit for the exam, the credentialing exams, only 40 to 50% of the people pass it. So they set it on a curve, and whatever, it was multiple choice, but like only 40, 50% of people pass. So I passed the first one on my first try. Some of the other kids had failed it, and they're like, what the fuck, dude? Like, you like don't even care about this. And I'm like, I don't know what to tell you, man. Like, I play Frisbee and I'm good at math. Like, these are the two things I know about myself right now. Like, and I'm talking more than I used to because people seem to like me here. They didn't in high school. They do now. So anyway, I then passed the first exam. I then passed the second exam on the first try. Now, what you need to understand about that is, as you go up in exams, they still only allow 40 to 50% of people to pass. But because the people that are taking the second exam have already passed the first exam, you're sitting with harder and harder classes of people, right? Because they've all now they've all passed the first one, so they proved they could do it. So by the end of my freshman, sophomore, junior year, I had 2 exams passed. And most people in the United States that are exiting college with that degree are still trying to pass the first one.
And you've passed
so
2
I'm going
by
to
your
these interviews.
junior year of college.
Yeah. So I had passed the first 2, and I'm sitting in all these interviews with like a 2.6 GPA or some stupid shit. And I didn't have it on my resume. So I'm sitting in these interviews, and I remember this guy plain as day, wearing glasses, dark hair, just actuary shirt, like just like a blue button up shirt. And he's like, hey man, so like, yeah, you don't have your GPA on your resume. Like, why not, man? Like, just, float it out there. I'm sure you're kicking ass. Like, you passed 2 exams. And I'm like, I mean, I have like a 2.7. And he's like, what do you mean? You have a 2.7. Like, how? What do you mean? He's like, what is your GPA? I'm like, it's a 2.7. Yeah. And now we're both like, we're just talking to our teeth because both of us are confused. So the guy's like, what? Like, I don't understand.
And the best part about this dynamic is you're holding like a great conversation with him. So clearly you're personable. You're clearly vastly accelerated in this particular field. So this guy's trying to figure out, like, the dots aren't connecting.
Yeah, well, and I mean, I just copped to it. I'm like, look, man, like, you can only get to a 2.7 GPA one of a couple ways. And the way that I've done it is like, I care a lot about math and I don't really care that much about anything else. Like, I just don't. Like, I'm not like, I took one class, like a writing process class on the Matrix. I got an A in that. I got an A in all my art classes because like Caravaggio's a fucking beast. And so is Peter Paul Rubens. But like, fucking Stalin, man, get fucked. I don't care. Like, whatever. Like, you know what I mean? Like, Red Curtain, like, who gives a shit? Like, I want more Caravaggio. Yeah. But it was like, then I realized like the ADD thing, because it's like, I'm very good at stuff I care about and I'm shit at things that I don't, because I just can't pay attention to it, which people might say it's a cop-out. If you don't have ADD, it's hard probably to explain to you, but like, if it's something I care about, I could read about it for 30 straight hours. And if it's not,
I can't read about it for 5 minutes.
It puts me to sleep, dude. I can't. I will literally fall asleep. So anyway, so these interviews would happen over and over. But the first one, the guy was like, well, man, I can't he's like, look, I think you're exceptional, but like, we have like a minimum GPA requirement of like 3.8, and you have you're like a full point below that. And I'm like, well, look, man, like, If you want people that are good at actuary math shit, like I'm your guy. And if you want people that are really good at history classes, like I'm probably not your guy. But like, I would love to work here at Insurance Factory XYZ. So yeah, and it was that. And then, my buddies would ask me for help. Like currently I get asked for like Excel help. And like, it's just when I talk with people about math, it's just one of those things that like, is similar to probably how like, this is going to sound so stupid, but like, I'm not the Michael Jordan of math, but like when Michael Jordan probably tries coaching people or when he owned the Wizards or whatever, like he's trying to tell people what to do. And they're like, I just don't get it. Like LeBron said it, he was with JJ Redick and he's like, dude, like people in the NBA can't like flip plays in their head. So they get it when it goes to the right side, but if it goes to the left side, they don't know how it works. And he's good at that. So like you could see people like when you're explaining the golf swing, it's probably so easy to you. Like that's what it's like for me with math. And I'm like, Mom, like the odds of pulling an ace out of the deck, there are 4 aces and there's 52 cards. Technically the probability is 4 to 52. The odds are something different. But for this conversation, we're just gonna pretend they're the same thing. But it's like, that to me is just like, I just understand it. And you hear people say like, I was never good at math, this, that, the other. And also like if I go out to eat with people, even if I'm not paying, they always hand me the check so I can calculate 15%. Or they used to before cell phones.
Sure.
Yeah, now they don't because cell phones. But like before that, like my parents, like my mom would hand me a check and be like, what's 15% of this number?
Even as a kid.
Because they used to not print it on the things. Yeah. Like and my dad, he liked math and like riddles with math. And so like, I just kind of grew up with that kind of shit. And like to this day, if I'm scrolling through, like, I'm not really on TikTok, but like if I'm going through Instagram Reels or YouTube Shorts or something and I see, or like sometimes I'll go to like Reddit pages where people are like, I don't know how to solve this. And I don't look at the answers and I solve it. Or I try to. I don't always get it right. But like, it fascinates me, dude. Like geometry, like fucking pyramids. Like I think it's beautiful and I love it. Always have.
So, I'm not going to...
Sorry, that was a long answer.
No, it's a phenomenal answer and it's exactly what I wanted. So I'm not going to get this perfectly right, but I want your take on this because I was asked this question recently. You ever seen the movie Rounders? Okay. Mm-hmm. So the question that is asked in the lecture hall, 3 doors. Familiar with the question?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Something that you want is behind... The way it was proposed to me was there's $1 million behind one door, 2 donkeys behind 2 other doors, right? So you open up the first door and there's a donkey. So let's go A, B, and C. Behind 1 is $1 million, behind 2 is a donkey. You pick door B. Mm-hmm. They open door A, and there's a donkey.
Yeah.
Do you change your answer from B to C once door A is revealed?
Yeah.
It makes no sense to me because it makes no sense because here's the way I want to explain the way my brain works before you totally school me on this. Okay. So originally I have a 1 in 3 chance of $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
I chose door B. Door A is revealed. It's a donkey. My chance is now 1 out of 2. Changing the door doesn't improve my chances because either door B or door C is $1 million. So the reveal of door A doesn't change what could be behind door B. So like changing to door C, I don't understand how that statistically improves my chances at $1 million when now a door's been eliminated, so now it's 1 out of 2.
So the movie that this one actually was explained in was 21, because Rounders was the poker movie.
Oh, okay.
But in 21, which was about the MIT blackjack team, they run through this, and it's basically, think about it like this. So you had it right at the beginning, and something you're saying there like is kind of right. So like if let's say that in scenario 1, they say here's the 3 doors. But you don't have to pick yet. we're just going to open one of the doors that has a donkey. And now your odds, your probability of being right when you're given a chance between one of the two is 50%. Sure. You're correct about that. The problem is when you were originally given the option, you didn't know, and it was 1 out of 3 for each of the 3 doors. So what ends up happening is, like, let's say you pick 1, they show you 2 and it's a donkey, and you could either keep 1 or move to 3. When you originally pick a door, there's a 1 in 3 chance that you're right. There's a 2 in 3 chance that you're wrong. So there's a 33% chance you're right, a 66% chance you're wrong. When they show you the donkey, people think it moves to 50-50, but it doesn't. Because ultimately, you still have a 1/3 chance of being right, and you still have a 2/3 chance of being wrong. So now, even though they showed you that door, basically the remaining door inherits the 1/3 probability because you know that it was wrong. Why does that remaining
door inherit the 1/3? Why is it not your door inherits the 1/3?
2 out of the 3 doors
were incorrect.
Were ones you're not going to pick. Right. So you had a 2/3 chance of being wrong. So you just have to keep that in your mind when they open the other door. Because you're like, I had a 1/3 chance of being right and a 2/3 chance of being wrong. You would take the 2/3 odds. Correct. So you switching basically gives you the extra 33% because going back to when you were originally asked, you didn't know which one it was in. If you're only given 2 doors, it is 50-50, but you were given 3.
Yeah, but one was eliminated from the equation. So switching after that is eliminated, it's not the same playing field anymore.
Yeah, but it still reverts back to the original probabilities because there was still a 2/3 chance you were wrong. So now you get to flip and inherit that 2/3 all in one door. Like it's weird, but that's the way that it works. It's weird,
but it's like I don't know if I will ever accept that that's the way it works. Because the minute that door is eliminated, it is no longer the same conversation.
I mean, it's one of those weird things, man. I mean, dude, I hear you. I totally hear you. I mean, and dude, if you're frustrated by that, I'll send you some other things that are like beyond frustrating. Like have you ever seen The Infinite Hotel?
Mm-mm.
Well, it's not even worth getting into right now. Okay. We're just going to watch it together next time we talk and I'll explain it to you. Can't wait. Like, math is fucking... the point is, do you know that there are different sizes of infinity?
No. That makes me want to cry.
Okay, the simplest example is if you just take the counting numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, blah, 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 and you go off into the distance, that there is an infinite number of numbers. Sure. You would agree with that? Okay, so that's one size of infinity. Now you take the negative numbers. So now you're taking things that were outside of this infinity and you're adding them, creating an even larger infinity.
So dumb. So stupid. So what's really interesting about like and we've touched on this and then we're going to change topics, but like you mentioned how calculus was something that you just like immediately just got. And you and I have talked about this briefly, but I was not the math guy. I'm still not. Probably won't ever be, as evident by this particular conversation. But like, I got to geometry, for example, and like, I was done with every problem before anyone else in my class. Straight A, like 0 issue. Got to calculus or even algebra, and I was like grinding to get a C. Like just to pass and be done. And like how your brain works is fascinating because like not you specifically, but each individual, well, you for sure, but like each individual, like the fact that even to this day, if you give me basic algebra, like like honestly with kids that I have and they're like working on algebra, I'd be like, call Uncle Jason. geometry, I'd be like, let's rock and roll.
Mm-hmm.
I got you. Like,
Yeah.
and it's amazing to me how different our brains work and how one of those clicks and one doesn't. And normally it's not both.
Right. Well, dude, and it's like, there's other shit that, like, you know, people are just into different stuff. Like, for me, like, the number pi, like a constant irrational number, is the same for every fucking circle, no matter how big the circle is. And it is the ratio of the circumference of a circle to its diameter. That to me is fucking wonderful. Like, I just think that's the coolest thing. Like, you divide one by the other, no matter how big the circle is, and it's always the same fucking constant. What the fuck are we talking about? Like, how great is that? And, but then that starts getting into like grand design or, you know, whatever you want to talk about. And I'm like, dude, like, that shit just fucking fires me up.
So give us like
I don't know why. Like, I just
give
like
us like
it.
a brief, like, it doesn't have to be career cliff notes, but like, so you leave that interview with the actuary who's like, dude, 2.7's not going to cut it. But you obviously know you're excellent at math. You're excelling well beyond your peers. You have arguably a much more conducive personality to a business environment from a communication standpoint than most people who would excel at actuarial science. So, like, what does that look like after that interview? Like, do you continue with interviews until someone goes, we'll accept the 2.7? Or, like, did you have to pivot at all? Or how did that work?
Good question. So I never got any internships. And so I was like a couple weeks away from graduating and didn't have a job. And like all the other actuaries were going to like PricewaterhouseCoopers and Bucks Consultants and Willis Towers Watson and blah, 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 blah. So I was interviewing all over the place. I couldn't get a job anywhere because my GPA sucked ass and I couldn't find an answer that they were going to accept. So long and short of it was, the head of our math department at the time, and my parents, by the way, were like really not happy about it, and not in ways that they would express to me until many years later, because they didn't want to put more pressure on me by like lobbing on like disappointment. But they're like, dude, we're like helping you with college. Like, you have a fucking 2.7. I don't even know what that means, but it sounds bad because it's out of 4. Like, it literally didn't even know. But you know, I was talking to the head of our department and he was like, well, you know, I got a couple connections. Let me see what I could do. Cause I know you, I know what you're good at, and I know you'll be valuable to a company. We just have to get them to look at you differently and not on the spreadsheet. So I was like, cool. So he works his magic. I interview with a company out in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, United Concordia, actually. And so they were a small department. They agreed to take me on. They did. Started, I mean, dude, my first job out of college, I was making, I think my salary was like $45,000, and I was fired up, dude. So fired up.
2 digits before the comma.
I remember I called
like,
my, dude, I was part of the 1 comma club, bud. I was like fired up. So after that, and I felt so rich, by the way, because I had no money ever. Like, I'd never had money. So now I do. I have 45,000 of the monies. So
fun coupons.
Yeah, man, the fun coupons, dude. And then I remember calling my dad, and my dad cried, and like that to me was one of the cooler fucking things, because like my mom was gonna cry no matter, like, I could give my mom a pack of gum and she's gonna cry, but like she'd be like, this is the best thing anyone's ever given me. It's a pack of gum. And I'm like, you care so much about me. It's like, well, I do, but it's just a pack of gum, you know? But yeah, my dad like teared up on the phone, and I was so fired up, dude. Cause like I cried too. Cause I was like, dude, I didn't think I was going to get a job. And like, he was fired up, and it was like, all of this was worth it. And like, it was just this nice, like full circle moment. But so yeah, eventually I got a job. And then, after that, fast forward really quickly through like multiple iterations of that job, you and I had met, which is a longer story. And then I moved over to the consulting side, because I was in a department, and one of my managers just saw in me something that she didn't see in other people, which is like, you talk too much to be here. You're like disruptive. But like, she saw in me like I was, dude. I was, because I would just float around and like, because I'd do my work fast and then I'd like go shoot the shit with everybody. But she was like, you're different. And I honestly think you'd be better at, like, I think you're good here and we'd love to keep you, but like, I think you'd be happier in sales because like you just have that kind of personality. You got the math. Mm-hmm. So then I moved into sales consulting and here we are. Now I'm on the Thought Safari.
Amazing. What a journey, you know? That's pretty cool.
Life is weird, man.
Life is weird. There's no doubt.
And that's just where I'm at now. Who fuck knows where it goes from here? Well, this is where it's going from here. Bob.
So let's change tones a little bit.
Sure.
I think you're similar to me. You don't have one friend group. You have multiple, whether it be work-related, kids you grew up with, friends you grew up with, etc. What would you say your role is in your friend group or groups, and does it change?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of struck with like the does it change? I don't think it changes. I think that, you know, when I think about friend groups, like there's a big group of us that all hang out together because I have some like smaller circles and then maybe it changes a little bit there. But I would say like my role within the friend group is generally I'm incredibly upbeat. I'm generally down for anything. Last couple of years I haven't traveled that much, so I missed some trips, which have been a bummer, but I'm generally down for anything. I'm a good golfing buddy. I like to fish, so like, outdoorsy is always fun with me. And like what role I play, I mean, I'm certainly not the planner. Probably shocking for everyone to hear there, but I'm not the planner.
Unless you want to plan a last-minute
trip
where no one knows when they're leaving, when they're getting there, and how they're going to get there.
Dude, that would be so beautiful. There was actually one trip I did plan. I planned for all of us to go to Stagecoach. I like rented the house, bought groceries and shit before everyone got there, and everyone was mind blown, dude. Like it was one of the funniest things because like I fully planned an entire trip for everybody, and everyone was like, "This is just waiting
for something to go wrong."
Honestly, dude, yeah, like they were honest. I would bet you they thought that like we were gonna get there and not even have a house, but. So yeah, like that went off without a hitch. But yeah, I'm enthusiastic. I'm upbeat. I'm always not always the most friendly person in a group. Cause I know some friendly people, but like I'm the most talkative. I generally get us into like weird situations because I talk to so many people. Like I met that, you want to do the two-step and cowboy boogie. Like I did that dance with that guy somewhere in Arizona because I was talking to him. I didn't even know who he was, but we were crossing the street. And I was just shooting the shit with him and the homies. And I was like, oh, what are you guys doing here? And he's like, oh, well, this guy like is driving the pace car for like a NASCAR race tomorrow. And I was like, what? Like how, why? Like, what do you, and he's like, oh, you don't know who I am. And I was like, I'm going to need like a hint, man. And then, so these two dudes wearing cowboy hats walked by him and they're like, holy shit, man. And he was like, do you know who I am now? And I was like, I mean, buddy, and this is probably going to sound racist, but at the time I'm like, dude, there's only two of you. It's you and Darius Rucker. Like, you're the cowboy boogie guy. Because you know what I mean? Like back at like years ago, sure. Like there wasn't like Kaboozy. Like we didn't have that. So, I mean, I don't know if I said that, but basically I was like, dude, are you the fucking, and he's like, and he's like, we did the cowboy boogie in Arizona, like him and I, like he sang it, we danced, and my buddies are like, what the fuck is going on here? But yeah, so role in friend group, it sounds shitty because I'm like bragging about math and all this shit, but like generally like I'm life of party guy. I'm usually out the latest, usually up the latest as well, as we talked about. Yeah, down for whatever. And I've been the glue for a couple of my friend groups. That's more kind of like back home probably, just because like I kind of ended up introducing a lot of people to each other. Sure. And out here, like these friend groups, I'm just a cog in a wheel, but a fucking wonderful cog nonetheless.
Just a beautiful cog.
But yeah, I'm like but yeah, like people confide shit in me. Like I'm easy to talk to. So like I'll, in some friend groups, like people will ask me harder questions or they'll run things by me, process something by me. I've been the best man in 5 weddings. I was an officiant in another wedding, and I've only been to like probably 10 weddings. Like I don't get invited to that many, but the ones I'm in are like my closer buddies. So, yeah, I love it. I would say I think the best man thing is probably the best like gauge of who I am in a friend group. Like I'm that guy.
100%. I have one more question from Notion. Okay. And then I have a couple of my own.
Beautiful.
So, do you bet on sports? And
I've been known to dabble, yeah.
If so, 2 simple ones. What's the worst beat you've ever had?
Well, funny you asked me that right now. The worst beat I've ever had happened literally 2 games ago in the NBA. I had overs on Luka Doncic and Jaylen Brown.
Okay. Game 1.
And both of these, game 1, I had the overs on both of them, and they both fell 1.5 points short. Jaylen Brown missed probably 87 free throws, and he had 2 or 3 shots toward the end of his playing time where he could have easily made them, and he didn't.
1.5 points.
1.5 points for both of them, dude. A point and a hook on both of them. And the other thing was, so Luka had, like, in the fourth quarter, so he had missed a free throw to just make it 1 point, so whatever. Oh, and Jaylen Brown with his free throws, so he misses all of them throughout the game, whatever. Right before he gets pulled, he gets fouled on a fucking 3. And he makes 1 out of 3 free throws.
Oh, my God.
1 out of 3 free throws. And then Luka Doncic, they were getting smashed in that game, to be fair. But, like, he had 4 or 5 shots in a row that didn't go. And then they both got pulled. Luka got pulled with, like, 5 minutes left in the game. And then Jaylen got pulled before Tatum did.
The pull is the worst when you have like the over on a prop. That is just the worst.
Dude, it's just absolute shit fest. And it's happened a little bit in hockey or like someone gets injured, but the worst that I could remember was the one that happened recently because I lost and they were both big bets and I lost both of them and had no reason losing either of them.
Oh, that's rough. On a positive note, what is the most unlikely cover that you've ever had?
I think it was not this most recent hockey season, but the one before it. So I'm a Philly everything fan. I'm a Fly guy. And I also like the Toronto Maple Leafs. I love Austin Matthews, Nylander, Tavares, although he's kind of toward the end of his days. I love the Maple Leafs. And they're also like a tragic franchise. Like they just don't win in the playoffs, haven't won the cup in years. So it's like no one like you're honestly like not jumping on a bandwagon of a really wildly successful team. They're great they're like the Cowboys, really. Sure. They just win a lot in the regular season. So what happened was I had like 3 different parlays because I was sure as shit that the Maple Leafs were going to win and they were going to cover a 6.5 spread. They were going to cover an over of 6.5. On game total, not team total. So they were down 4-1 with like 7 minutes left in the third period. And if you ever watch hockey, you know that those games are like, it's possible to win those types of situations. It's not very likely. And I remember like, they score 1 with like about 7 left, and I'm like, okay, this is cute, but like whatever.
So now it's what's the game total at?
Now it's 4-2.
So it's at 6.
It's 4-2, and they're at 6.
Okay.
Yep. So and basically, if they come back, it's one of those like if they come back, they're gonna cover. They have to, right? Because then they're gonna have to win 5-4. So it's 4-2, and I'm like, okay, this is sick. And then now there's like a minute. There was like maybe 2 minutes left in the game, and I'm like, pull your fucking goalie, dude. Like, give me a chance. They end up scoring even strength. Now it's 4-3. They end up pulling their goalie after that, and literally, dude, a shot rips in with like 0.2 seconds left. They were like checking the monitors to make sure it like passed in time. They literally win the game with 0.2, or they tie the game with 0.2 seconds left. It goes into overtime, and I think it was Austin Matthews. It might not have been, but either way, they win it like 2 minutes into overtime.
Really?
Dude. I hit 3 parlays that were all waiting on that game. And it was like, the last leg is the toughest.
Sure.
And it was the one I was the most sure of. And I'm like celebrating beforehand, and they get fucking their asses handed to them. And then they end up covering storm back, dude.
Especially when it hits more than one and it's just like check.
Dude, it was just, and it was, I wasn't betting huge at the time, but I probably won like $400 or something, like between the three of them. Like,
thing.
What a pretty big day.
It's a beautiful thing. So we're going to go back a little bit in time. Okay. What did you want to be when you were a little kid?
I wanted to be a Wall Street trader.
Really? Like, when we say little kid, like, what are we talking?
I mean, I wasn't even 10 years old.
Wow. How did that come about?
At some point, my dad was talking to one of his buddies about some stock that he bought. And then for the next like 2 months of my life, I was literally sitting on my dial-up computer checking its stock price every day. And I would tell him what it was as soon as he came home from work. And it like... he was into like penny stocks and shit. The company was actually, it was like Owens Corning. I remember it. And I remember it went from like $10 to like, 16 or something. And I was so fired up. And like he would get so happy about it, even though I did nothing other than report it. So then I bought a book like in and around that time that was like Wall Street Trading something or other. And I read it and I was like, yeah, that's going to be me, Dad. I'm going to trade on Wall Street. Because it's like, when you're a kid, you're it's like astronaut, professional athlete. I wasn't good enough for one. I definitely thought the going to space thing was probably not going to work out. So I was like, I could trade stocks. Why not?
So where did you go wrong? Like, where did you not decide to go Wall Street?
I ripped a green bong with marijuana Steve and my life changed, dude.
So we can credit marijuana Steve in my brain, to the actuary pursuits and also to the detriment of being a Wall Street trader.
Yeah, no. I mean, the Wall Street trader had morphed when I was in high school. I wanted to be like a corporate lawyer. Like I wanted to be like an M&A lawyer, like a mergers and acquisitions. Like I wanted to be sitting when like Hershey purchases Nabisco, like I wanted to be that guy. And I don't even know why, dude. Like, but again, it's like, as you get older in the area I grew up in, it's like, well, it's like doctor, lawyer, or you stay here. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, I'm not staying here.
So I'm going to be a doctor. Things.
So like, yeah. So I'm going to go to door number 2. Hope it's not a goat or a donkey. But I wanted to do that. And then, so that's originally what I went to college to want to do. And then I knew that they had a strong math program, which was important because I was like, if I want to do anything else, it's probably going to be math, but I don't know how or why. And then old Mary J. Stevie.
Love it. What is one thing that you used to be good at that you love doing that you wish you never stopped doing?
Something I used to be good at that I love doing that I wish I never stopped doing?
Correct.
I mean, you're going to love this one. So the only casualty that ever came of this was my own window in front of my house. But I used to hit like 50-yard flop shots over my house.
With a real ball?
With a real ball. I would...
That's awesome.
Because we had this... in our backyard, we had a well.
Okay.
So the well was like... So behind the well was a golf course, but like behind the well, you probably had like 10 feet. And then it was just deep, deep bushes and then a golf course. So... Yeah, that was one of the things, because I would have been so much better at like chipping, pitching, and all that shit
You just
had I
kept ripping
continued to
balls
do
out
that.
of the house.
Yeah, just kept ripping balls of the house. The other thing, I used to love baseball a lot, man, and I don't even play softball now. Would be another one. And what would another be? I mean, I've picked up so many new hobbies, but stuff that I used to do that I don't do quite so much anymore. That's such a great question. I mean, I would say like some of the stuff you just can't do anymore. Oh man, you know what I used to love? My brother and I used to get just ripped with beer, kids. I mean, you were around for it, you remember. But like we used to just get like hammed up and play Mario Kart all the time. And my sister-in-law probably put a kibosh to it, because my brother says like, oh, it's just not me anymore. But it probably was because like we were just fucking fools and like would just be so competitive. It was annoying to everybody else. But every time we would hang out, dude, we'd literally sit there, rip a case of beer, and just play Mario Kart on Nintendo Switch.
It'd be nice to go back and do that.
I wish I could do that. I wish I could go back to that.
I love it.
And drinking a lot without hangovers. I miss doing
You
that.
should be good at that.
Dude, I was the best.
Two questions that lead us into the next safari we go on. One would be, regardless of the person, what is one question, within reason, that you want to ask the next guest? Could be a question that we asked tonight that we haven't thought about. Could be something brand new.
Yeah, I mean, there's one in particular that I love. I go back and forth on it because depending on the answer they give, they could get themselves in hot water. But I love to know like what drives people nuts, and generally it's going to be something about like their kids or their wife or their work, or there's something that someone probably shouldn't hear.
Sure.
But I really love knowing like. Because, like, I love
just
all the positivity and such.
Pet peeve.
Just, like, because I also find that people bond a lot over, like, just this, like, what really sucked about last week, you know? And, like, you know, whether it's the garbage chute or, you know, your phone died and you needed it to get into a building, or, like, your credit card doesn't work for whatever reason, or, like, you have to pay for parking on Sundays, which is terrible. Like, God, those things all suck so much ass. So yeah, I think tell me something that just drives you nuts, and I like hearing it on like not just something that just pisses you off in general, although you could answer it that way too. But like something that happens often enough and it's just so annoying, but it's a part of life. The other thing attached to that is what drives you the most nuts about other people. Because I think, like, depending on who they are and what they do, like, if it's a waiter, like, I kind of want to learn, like, because that's part of this for us is, like, what drives you nuts about other people? Yeah. Because, like, it's about people, really. So, yeah, that's probably the big question for me is what drives you nuts?
I like that.
Or what do you love when people do, but you don't give them enough credit for it? Who are the unsung heroes of the world? That's actually, that one I really like, is, like, who for sure either doesn't get paid enough or doesn't get enough credit for what they do in general.
Yeah.
Like what type of person, what is it, the center on a football team? Is it, you know, however they answer it. And I like open-ended questions.
I love that. And then, and lastly, like we end every one of these infamous episodes, who should we interview next?
So next I think has to be the next closest person to the show, if I'm being honest. Goes by the name Randall Cunningham.
Randall Cunningham.
In our world anyway. But it's so Randy, so he's the guy who created all the beautiful design that you see around us right now. Because you're seeing it after post-production, but he helped us with our logo. He helped me with logo stuff in the past. Great design guy, super great kid. I say kid, he's 27, I think, but super interesting guy. He's like into airsoft and like all sorts of shit. Like he's just like a random dude. So I think Randy's probably the next one that I'd like to
I
talk
love
to.
it. So for those listening in these early episodes, this is a trend we're going to continue forward. So there's going to be in the spirit of a safari, a very interesting ask that question to the person being interviewed, and that is going to be the person we interview next. So there's going to be a sort of unpredictable flow to the guests on this podcast. Sure, we could call the first, the second, maybe even the third a little predictable, but after, I mean, I don't know, you know Randy more than I do, but after Randy, I truly have no idea where this is going to go. But when the next guest suggests the next guest, we're going to politely, with the permission of that guest, reach out to them and ask them if they would like to be on the Thought Safari and let the adventure continue.
Yeah, and in a little bit of an addendum to that, so basically, like, each person we talk to, like, a web is going to stretch out from them. So, like, we do have a couple people that, like, originally we want to talk to, that are just very interesting folks. They're generally speaking going to be close friends of ours, but maybe not. I mean, it could literally be some guy we meet at the library tomorrow, and why we're at the library, who the hell knows? But I think that I've been at the library because I've had to print stuff. Like, I don't even know where you print stuff. Like, where do you print things?
FedEx.
The library, dude. Like, it's 10 cents a page. I know that. It's crazy. But yeah, so we'll have different individuals, but then literally the guests come from those, like, webs, which, you know, Devon and I think will be pretty cool, because then it's like, you know, whether it's who you think is interesting or who would want to talk to us, because then we're just getting warm leads, and, like, then they introduce them to us, and then, like, because we don't want it to be a pain in the ass for people. We want it to be people that are interested in this sort of thing, and we'll bring something interesting to y'all fine folks. So yeah,
100%.
Awesome. Well, I think with that, Dev, we could probably rep it up. Appreciate y'all for listening. This is one of the longer ones. We'll cut it down, but as always, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell.
An absolute pleasure to have you. And Jay Raven, always a pleasure, my friend.